It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, February 14th, 2025. Happy Valentine's Day. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. I feel like that could be a Valentine card right there. We're going to kick it
Nice
off.
one.
We got a whole show for you planned of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Bill, Blake,
Yeah.
a little...
Yeah, I'm bringing Blake up, so his mic's hot, so he knows.
Oh, hey, good morning, guys.
Yeah,
wow,
surprise.
man, looking good, Jeff. I like
Dude,
that hat, man.
I was gonna say that too. I mean, what someone here is dressed to the nines and
I've
making the
got-
rest of us
I've
look
got quite a
homeless.
pretty lady to take to dinner
Dude.
tonight.
Does your
So-
wife know?
How do you
I'm sorry, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
I wanted...
how do you put that thing on at 4 o'clock in the morning?
I
man?
know. He's
That
all
is
in a suit and a
impressive.
tie and incredible cowboy hat.
Looking good, man. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Well,
Sorry
I
to
hope I
interrupt.
can woo the fine lady of the house tonight. So,
Excellent. I mean, it is. He shows up dressed to the nines and is all this, and I'm wearing a sweater. But I gotta tell you, now I did the maroon for Valentine's Day here. But this is an old school sweater. I was just telling Adam, who's running the video, this is a sweater that I got from my father after he passed away. This sweater is older than I am. He got this in
Wow.
Austria.
Is
So
that
yeah,
right?
yeah. This
is
is
that the sweater that you might have been
No.
created in there?
No. I'm pretty sure they were both naked, but that's at least what they told me. So just saying.
One of my favorite stories on that was the guy who he fought to make the highway bathroom
Yeah.
that he was conceived in off the New Jersey Turnpike.
Yes.
a historical landmark.
I love
So
that.
one of the-
That's a great idea.
It was after a concert too, but I wanted to
Yeah.
play a little love music for you guys this morning.
Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Tell me, which side are you on? Which side are you on? We'll fight against Josh. We'll fight Elon Musk. No Elon's kept within our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk. Oh, which side are you on?
That is the progressive strangling cat chorus.
Jeez. Now, okay. I take a moment here. I gotta tell. Okay, liberals that you listen here to the Jeff and Bill show. We know we've given you kind of an open space. Cuddle up close here to the radio for a second. That you just heard, that's why white people shouldn't sing Negro spirituals. Just saying. In general,
So true.
if you do not have enough melanin in your skin, do not attempt to pull off the Negro spiritual. It is not part of my people's ability. I'm just telling you, we should take ownership of this and realize that what they're able to do is absolutely incredible. Stop it. If you want to do something, what it should be is you should do something that should maybe take on something like I don't know, Vanilla Ice song, something like that. Let's do that. You use that theme. That might work a little better for you. If you're going to have something of the influence and not, that's depressing. And you can tell how they're singing. It's like, no, that's bad. That's really
it
bad.
is. The visuals are wonderful.
Yes, the visuals are wonderful.
It is.
And you can close your eyes right now and imagine, what do those people look like that you think singing it? And you are right. Yes, you are correct. You don't have to see the picture. You can imagine exactly what they look like, and you're absolutely correct. Yes, they're wearing the hats. Yes, they have on those coats, and yes, they're holding those signs. Yes, you're absolutely correct. That they're doing it. Yes. Oh my God, that's embarrassing.
Well, I do have some Halloween, Valentine's Day limericks
Ooh.
for
Uh-oh.
our
Okay.
esteemed lawmakers.
Okay,
here
I'm
in
ready.
Colorado.
You said I'm ready for the dump button. You said limericks,
Yeah,
so just in
right.
case.
This one's for Jared Polis. There once was a gov named Polis whose taxes made businesses soulless. With mandates so tight and crime out of sight, he left us all feeling quite hopeless.
That's good.
Like it.
That's nice. Yes.
So
happy
we've got
Valentine's
a
Day.
whole show planned of of songs and limericks to get you in the Valentine's Day mood. We're also going to be joined by Ryan Armagost, Ty Winter, Lindsay, Datko, Erin, Lee, and then we'll finish it with some cowboy poetry in the 9 o'clock hour. So we're going to talk Jeffco, Pooter schools. We're going to talk the gun laws that went till 2, 3 in the morning being debated down at the Colorado State Capitol yesterday. Ty Winter having some success on nuclear energy. So absolutely jam-packed show for you today. It's going to be great, but we all want to hear it. News and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Which side are you on? 25 degrees and cloudy. Thank you, Jeff and Billy. In Denver, expecting a high of 51 on Valentine's Day. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I love living in a country where you can wake up every day and say, I wonder what the president's up to today. And you can just find it out. You just figure it out. It's online at basically just whatever he's doing.
Imagine that. Transparency. Trillions of dollars. Corruption. Waste exposed in just 3 weeks. And the commies don't like it. 14 states are suing DJT and Elon for unlawful delegation of executive power. The lawsuit filed Thursday argues Doge and the authority being given to Elon are unconstitutional. He appointed him, DJT did, and real people like Melody, they're not buying your garbage. Make her day, Devilcrats.
Oh, really? Y'all talk about taking what to the streets? I hear you Democrat politicians talking about taking something to the street. We got to use violence. Oh, yeah? Y'all want this smoke? Well, come on out into the street because there's a whole bunch of angry taxpayers, baby. And I don't think you got enough bodyguards for us, honey. So you watch what you say. And y'all want to sing civil rights songs? What side are you on? What side are you on? Really? We ain't on your damn side. We on God's side. Because y'all the devil. Y'all the devil. And how dare y'all talk about violence? The party of love and happiness. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Bring it to the streets.
Make her day. The FBI is now involved in the search for a missing University of Colorado Boulder student. The school posted on social media that its police department was trying to locate Megan Trussell, who was last seen last Sunday in her residence hall. She was seen wearing a blue or gray jacket, dark colored pants, and white platform sneakers. Anyone with information is asked to contact CUPD. An arbitrator is siding with the Denver School District over cost of living pay increases given to educators. The Wednesday decision found that the school district did not violate the terms of its bargaining agreement with the Denver Classroom Teachers Association. Union members received a 5.2% pay increase at the beginning of the school year, though they expected a raise of more than 8%. The school district blamed the smaller raise on several factors, including a reduction in state funding. DPS and the union will start negotiations on a new contract later this month. Police say multiple people were injured in a crash at DIA on Thursday. Investigators say a vehicle was involved in a rollover crash around 3:30 in the afternoon on level 5. First responders pulled the injured people from the vehicle, but police did not say how many were injured. A student at Fort Collins High School was arrested on Thursday in connection to a home invasion in May of last year. Police say 18-year-old Ethan Campbell entered an apartment and assaulted the woman who lived there. He eventually left after neighbors attempted to intervene. He's been booked into the Larimer County Jail on charges of attempted first-degree murder, first-degree assault, and first-degree burglary. The Israeli government says Hamas needs to release 3 hostages on Saturday, or the Gaza ceasefire deal will come to an end.
It's not unusual to be mad with anyone. It's not unusual
All righty, get your Tom Jones ready. It is Valentine's Day. Break out your favorite songs. You may have to pay more for chocolate today because of a global cocoa shortage. The cost of chocolate is up, reported 20% this year because of record high cocoa prices. Cocoa is harvested mostly in West Africa, and where cocoa crops have been hit hard recently by weather. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. I think I said the Nuggets played last night. I think I said that all morning on Thursday. They're on the All-Star break, so Nuggets not in action last night or this weekend. 23 in Westminster, 21 in Castle Pines, 25 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Valentine's Day.
Buy me a rose, call me from work, open a door.
Buy a rose, call her from work, and get ready for Valentine's Day if you haven't already. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies, mild temperatures for one day. We're going to be able to go all the way to the low to mid-50s as mild Pacific air moves in. Later today and tonight, we could see a passing snow shower, lower 20s tonight. It's going to be colder Saturday. Snow showers developing, highs upper 20s. Light snow Saturday night, could see a light accumulation, lows teens, highs upper 30s Sunday. Could see light snow chances and temperatures trending down heading into next week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
About my friends over at Colorado Christian University. You know, a high school student who has a passion for teaching in cultural and political issues. The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. All right, joining us now on the Jeff and Bill show is Representative Ryan Armagost. He represents Colorado House District 64. We're going to talk gun bills. He's got one that's bipartisan in nature, and then we'll ask him about what happened late last night with Senate Bill 3. It looks like some changes happening to that effort to ban any semi-automatic gun with a detachable magazine. But first, we'll dive into his new bill, House Bill 25-1062, penalty for theft of firearms. Good morning, Representative Armagost. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill show.
Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be here.
So you're up bright and early in the state capitol. By the way, I love the background. It is so cool to see that. So big deal with your bill. You got a bipartisan gun bill, penalty for theft of firearms. Tell us about it.
Well, this was something that I brought to the legislation last year, and last year it didn't even see the light of day. We got it in the Judiciary Committee, which I sit on, but the House Judiciary Committee was so horrible last year. The makeup of it was a lot of anti-law enforcement, anti-gun, and anti-criminal punishment people on the committee. So it didn't even see the light of day. It was killed in miserable fashion in the committee, even though it was bipartisan then. I'm bringing it back this year. I was a lot more willing to compromise last year, but this year I wasn't willing to compromise. I took a little bit of a different tactic. We did get the governor's support of it. We have the majority leader, Monica Duran, as my co-sign on the bill. And we've already been talking to people and telling them there's no compromise. It's something that needs to happen for public safety. But it's still hitting the same walls that it was hitting last year with the same members of the judiciary. Now the chair, Javier Mabry, he's the spokesperson of anti-gun and anti-criminal punishment. So this is one of those things that we know we're not going to change his mind, but there are members of the committee now. Thankfully, since we've also added a member from the Republican caucus with our ability to get out of the super minority, we now look like we have a better chance of getting it through House Judiciary. But this is going to take firearms out of the theft statute, so it's not based on value of the firearm. It's based on the actual fact that you're stealing a firearm that's going to be used in violent crime. So instead of value-based, if you stole a handgun that was $250, you'd be charged with a petty offense, and it would basically be a $300 fine, no jail time, no probation, nothing like that. So this makes it a flat felony 6 to steal a firearm, and if you steal multiple firearms, you have subsequent felonies. But yeah, it's something that needs to happen. Same thing we did with auto theft. That curbs auto theft. I don't care what anyone says. Raising the penalty has brought down auto theft in Colorado. So raising the penalty for stealing firearms could definitely bring down the penalties from occurring throughout Colorado as well.
We're talking with Ryan Armagost. He represents House District 64 down at the Colorado State Capitol. He's also the leader of the Second Amendment caucus down there. And so this is a unique thing for Second Amendment advocates to want to lead on, but it's right in line with the idea that we expect firearm users to be responsible people. And if you're stealing guns, then you should be held to account. Help me understand why, particularly last year, maybe even this year, you may have Democrats that don't want to support this.
Any bill that we bring forward that raises any penalties and punishments is immediately looked at as a racist bill because it's targeting men of color, which is not true at all. And we can look at the statistics. It's based on the community that the punishment is enforced in. I spoke for my county, working as a former sheriff's deputy in Laureate County. We didn't have that. There wasn't the disparity in the way the law was enforced, and there isn't in law enforcement. But there are people that try to paint that picture that this is some sort of something that's built to target people or to put people in prison. And when it comes down to it, we're talking about firearms. If you look at the news, we're not talking about mass shootings that are, the ones that make national news. We're talking about the nightly news you see of shootings in downtown Denver, or shootings in Aurora. Those are 86% of gun crimes are handguns. 90 to 93% of those guns used in those crimes are stolen or acquired illegally. So if we're really not addressing the actual, fulcrum of where this is all coming from, we're not addressing anything. All we're doing is putting more crimes on law-abiding citizens and making law-abiding gun owners criminals rather than focusing on the criminals that are getting guns illegally.
That seems to be the case. The intent of Democrats down at the Colorado State Capitol, write laws so that gun-abiding or law-abiding gun owners are penalized. But if we're going to penalize people that steal guns, no, we'll back away from it. That's wild. Let's talk a little bit about Senate Bill 3. This was a late night last night. Here's an update from We the Second at 1:30 a.m., the bill passed second reading in the Colorado Senate with a massive amendment that would allow people to still purchase the banned guns, semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, and gas-operated pistols with the detachable magazines if they have a hunting license and take a 4-hour course that would be managed by CPW, or without a hunting license, take an undefined 12-hour course over 2 days. 12 hours for a Glock detachable magazine 9mm semi-automatic handgun, which is one of the most popular handguns out there. They write, in short, the ruling class would like to offer us peasants an opportunity to buy our rights back. There's a fiscal note that's been attached to this, came back at $1.8 million. This is significant because the legislature is currently dealing with nearly a $1 billion shortfall. According to Senator Minority Leader Paul Lundeen, there's also an additional $70 million a year revenue loss from aggregate tax revenue. The bill has at least one more vote needed in the Senate before it would move over to the House chamber. I know we're talking to you. You're in the House of Representatives. It looks like this bill's coming your direction, but what did you make of what happened last night, Ryan Armagost?
I was surprised, but not surprised. The surprise was they basically put an amendment on the bill that signed its own death warrant under our current, fiscal status in the state. The issue was nobody wanted to just PI the bill. Nobody wanted to postpone it indefinitely to kill the bill. It needs to die. The governor doesn't want it. Colorado doesn't want it. They've already, surveys have said Coloradans don't want this. So the fact that they keep pushing this over and over again is just, I think they get this breath of, refreshment where they think they can get it across the next year. And it seems to get worse and worse every year, which just makes their case even weaker every year. But the fact that they put that on there, it's basically like an FOID. You buy your way into purchasing a firearm by being a certified person to buy a firearm, which is what other progressive states have done. It hasn't done anything to curb any violent crimes there either. But Illinois does that. States on the East Coast do that. But this is not something that's going to work for Colorado, especially when we're this close to Wyoming. This is just chasing businesses away and chasing people into other states to do their firearms transactions, which is not reasonable, and it's a complete violation of the Second Amendment. But the not surprising part is that the bill sponsor himself is having a meltdown about this bill. I don't know if you saw what he did with the Rocky Mountain gun owners last night. His meltdown there.
Yeah, I posted the video. By the way, I posted that video on my X account. I retweeted it. So if you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, this is Tom Sullivan having a conversation with Ian Escalante from Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, where he basically admits that petitions that were dropped off at his office were, quote, trash, and he was going to send them out or toss them out. These were petitions from his own constituent concerned about attacks on Second Amendment rights. He refers to those petitions as trash that he's going to toss out. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's what your elected officials think of your voice as Colorado constituents. So this is something where people really need to consider what they're doing on the ballot come November 26th.
Ryan Armagost, he represents House District 64 up in Larimer County. He's a leader of the Second Amendment Caucus. So I want to wrap this all up, help people understand this, okay? If you are a law-abiding citizen that wants to purchase a second or a semi-automatic weapon, if you're a law-abiding person that wants to purchase a semi-automatic handgun, rifle, shotgun, okay, you are going to either have to get a hunting license and take a 4-hour course, or take an undefined 12-hour course over 2 days. If you just want to buy a semi-automatic handgun. And if you're a thief that steals a gun it's not a bad penalty, and Democrats are willing to keep those penalties low because it may interfere with somebody's livelihood and they don't want them to go to jail. So law-abiding citizens, 12-hour course, criminals, probation. That's essentially what's happening down at the state capitol.
Absolutely. It's just where I say we because it's collective in the majority, we are pushing and enabling criminal rights over victims' rights. And we're taking away the rights for anyone to be able to defend themselves from the criminals that are stealing guns to use them against innocent, unarmed victims.
Now, Ryan Armagost joining us, Colorado House Representative District 64. What's the major pushback about the idea behind someone that's going to be a new gun owner having to take a gun training or gun safety class? What would be the negative of them doing that?
I think it's an elitist personality that is really saying, if you want to do this, you have to be blessed by the government, by us, the government, to be able to carry a firearm. But that already happened in the Constitution. That was already established, shall not be infringed in the Constitution. The other fact of it is there's just simply a level of people that are ignorant to firearms and seeing firearms as a dangerous tool. Everything's a dangerous tool. As we saw in New Orleans, a truck is a dangerous tool. What we have to focus on is taking the person out of the equation, not the tool out of the equation, and you're going to solve the problem. The pushback is simply that the tool itself, the firearm, is what's doing all of this. It's not the people that are committing these atrocities with any tool. What's making the news is what's really pushing the agenda and the messaging from the opposition or the argument to Second Amendment. So,
why would the society not be interested to make sure the person using the tool can use it correctly? Why are we making the assumption the individual is going to make the best choice once they own that firearm? I think we can bring a long list of examples forward of people making very, very bad decisions with their firearms, opening fire inside of a fast food joint because they didn't get the right number of fries, taking out the gun and firing at somebody that is just driving down the highway because of road rage. I'm unconvinced that everybody who purchases a firearm understands exactly how to use that tool. So why would we not, as a society, want to ensure the person using that tool knows how to use it properly?
Because we keep pushing ourselves further and further into a nanny state where we feel like we have to be a nanny for every resident in Colorado. You brought up a perfect example in road rage. People have a privilege of driving on our highways and interstates with a vehicle, and privilege of buying a vehicle that go through a very rigorous, driver's permit and licensing for that privilege, and they still abuse that on a regular basis with road rage, with otherwise careless driving, drunk driving, things like that take life every day as well. There's no media focus on that. The media focuses on firearms, but we don't focus on the crimes or the methods as to where criminals are able to obtain firearms. I don't think we need to focus as much on law-abiding citizens because in everything, there's that 1% that's going to do something horribly with the rights and privileges they're given. However, the 99% of people that are doing it okay are the ones that are being impacted by all of this legislation.
Well, and I want to point out, it just continues to grow. These requirements continue to grow. So a concealed carry class used to be 3-4 hours. We're now up to 8 hours on that. If you want to buy a semi-automatic Glock 9mm with a detachable magazine, which is a common gun, it's pretty much one of the most popular guns out there. Okay, I got to go through my concealed carry class, which is now 8 hours. Used to be 3 or 4. It's now 8 hours. I have a 3-day waiting period in order to get that, and now I'm told I got to take a 12-hour class on top of my 8-hour concealed carry class, on top of my 3-day waiting period. This just continues to get long. The whole point of this is not about how to use a tool properly, someone being responsible, wanting to take a concealed carry. No, the point is we want to continue to put more and more burdens upon law-abiding citizens that they have to follow. Meanwhile, somebody who's stealing guns we don't want to punish them any further. There's a great post here from Iggy. The gun owner is the criminal and the criminal is the victim. That sums it up perfectly.
I find it somewhat confusing that why people that are advocating for gun ownership do not want to ensure that those gun owners are either responsible or have the ability to use that firearm in the right way to defend themselves. We have no choice. We have no indication that the person buying the gun has the ability, the judgment to even hit a target, but we're going to hand them the gun. Ryan talked about the idea of going through training as far as a car, and he viewed it as a tool, and he talked about a gun being a tool. Yet we give people a lot of training and a lot of testing before they're allowed to get behind the wheel of a car. Yet for a gun, okay, pass the background check, good luck. It's an odd choice.
One is a privilege and one is a constitutional right.
Yeah, but again, Ryan only quoted half of the constitutional right. And there are regulations and restrictions placed on the constitutional right. I don't think anybody in this argument here is willing to say that we should have all access to all the weapons possible around the world. We wouldn't say unfettered access. We wouldn't do that. That would be an argument.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
We have the National Firearms Act that keeps us from being able to purchase and own certain firearms, machine guns, full autos.
Is that a good idea, though, Ryan? Is that a good idea or a bad idea?
That's still an infringement on our constitutional rights.
So you think that you feel that at the core we should have the ability to buy any weapon that is available out there. If you want to go buy an RPG missile system, you should be able to. That would be fine.
The purpose and intent of the Second Amendment was to be able to defend yourself from a tyrannical government. When your government outarms you, that is the intent of this tyrannical government.
That's not the entire intent, according to the founders. It's not the entire intent that is inside the Federalist Papers. That's not the whole debate. That is only a portion of the debate that is going on. And inside the Second Amendment, there is a independent clause and a dependent clause. And the independent clause has restrictions placed on it by the dependent clause. It is simple English. Anybody that went through 6th grade English class knows that there are restrictions placed on the Second Amendment, and they were placed there by our founding fathers because of how it's written. There is a dependent clause and independent clause. That's just basic English. You don't have to be a constitutional scholar. All you had to do is pay attention in 6th grade English class, and you understand there are restrictions on your right to own a gun. That's what the founding fathers did. That's within the Federalist Papers. You're only putting half the argument on the table.
You think the Second Amendment was written to restrict guns?
The Second Amendment has a restriction built into it.
Which is?
The second part of it, about the militia. Everybody seems to forget that part. Well, that's okay. That's the part that puts the restrictions on there. There are restrictions that are placed inside the Second
Amendment has nothing to do with the individual right to arm themselves and everything to do with the rights of a militia?
It has partly to do with an individual, but there are regulations placed on it based on being part of a militia. And there are reasons behind that in the Federalist Papers. There's a reason why
the Supreme
those existed.
Court totally disagrees with you on this.
Once, not in history. They did in the most recent ruling, and that's fair. But every other previous,
not just one.
Previous to what is it? The Heller ruling? I forget. It's again early. But previous to that, most of the, if not all, of the major rulings were based on the militia arguments. That's where you go back to the original one of the sawed-off shotgun, the idea of militia argument. That's where those were for a while. The court has changed that. That's okay. But if you go back to what the founding fathers wrote, they put restrictions on it. It is plain. It's plain English.
I disagree.
I understand you disagree, but English is difficult.
I'll give you the final word here.
Well, the only thing I can say is I am the militia. I don't know about Bill, but Jeff, I know you are the militia. We are the well-regulated militia. We are the Americans that stand up for our rights. I, as a military member and law enforcement member and now legislator, I've sworn 3 different oaths to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and Colorado against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's what I'm doing here, and defending our Second Amendment as the co-chair of the Second Amendment process. And I will do that till the day that I am not an elected official anymore and even not breathing anymore. So that's what I'm here to do for the people in the people's house, and I'll continue to do that. I'm glad you guys had me on.
And I think your law is perfectly fair, and that absolutely should be supported. Your law is absolutely great. I love it. I think it should be a Class 6 felony. I think the way it's dealt with right now is complete crap. And I also appreciate the fact that you at least threw in the part of the Second Amendment that talks about regulated. It's in there.
Ryan Armagost, he's running House Bill 251062. It's a bipartisan bill to increase penalties for theft of firearms. At the same time, defending your Second Amendment rights against Senate Bill 3, which just squeaked by second readings in the Senate real early in the morning. We're going to continue to update on that. Ryan, thanks for all you do down at the Colorado State Capitol, and thanks for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill show this morning.
Thank you, guys. Always a pleasure.
Right. We'll continue. Phone calls coming in. This is, the Second Amendment. It's a debate. Well, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Very happy Valentine's Day to you. Here's my limerick collection for Colorado's finest. Mike Johnston, Mayor Mike, had a grand master plan to house every I'll start over. Mayor Mike had a grand master plan to house every tent-dwelling man. But the camps only grew and the crime numbers too. Now Denver's a lawless wasteland.
That's a good one. That's nice. I look forward to these today.
We are debating some gun bills. I think Billy and I both agree that House Bill 25-1062 that would increase the penalties for theft of firearms. It's led by Ryan Armagost. It includes Democrats on there as well. Is a good thing.
That's a fantastic thing.
Steal guns, because right now you're assessed. The penalty is based upon the value of the firearm.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. It has to do with the fact that you're stealing a gun, and it needs to be a Class 6 felony. That's fantastic. I love the idea. Yes.
Now, Bill and I are debating, and you're welcome to jump in. Would love to have you call us, 303-696-1971. What began as an effort to just outright ban any semi-automatic gun with a detachable magazine. Okay, that's most pistols these days, because you have the magazine that drops out the bottom. That's a detachable magazine. And your Glock 9mm, for instance, would fall under that. Your Ruger, Smith & Wesson, a lot of them would fall under it, unless it's a revolver. Is like a 6-shooter is going to fall under those bans. But now they've changed it. And part of this change, I think, is way over the top. So at 1:30 a.m., this is We the Second reporting late last night, this ban on semi-automatic weapons passed second reading. It would allow people to still purchase these banned guns, semi-automatic rifles, shotguns, gas-operated pistols with detachable magazines. But you would have to take a 4-hour course that would be managed by Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Or if you don't have a hunting license, you have to take an undefined 12-hour course over 2 days. And it just continues to pile on. Here's what if you go and buy a gun now, you have to be background check, fingerprinted. You have a 3-day waiting period. If you want to conceal carry, it's an 8-hour course in order to conceal carry. And now they want to add on top of it a 12-hour course. For progressives, there's never enough. There's never enough requirements on this. They'll continue to add more and more, with the goal being the only people that have guns at the end of the day is the government and people who are criminals that aren't going to abide by this. Bill, you see it differently.
Yeah, I understand. We have regulations that are on our Second Amendment rights that we all agree to. And I find it frustrating when only half the history behind Second Amendment is brought to the table. I'm unconvinced that we are showing that we are able to handle our guns properly right now. There are lots of examples of people doing really, really stupid things with their guns. Just recently in You Choose the News, we had 2 guys getting high. One guy said, "Oh, I can dodge a bullet." Well, they tested. Nope, he was wrong. That's phenomenally stupid. So there's some certain things. So I'm not convinced that we understand what we're doing with our guns. I don't understand. And the thing for me is the people that I know that have gone through hunter training and hunter safety classes, people that have gone through concealed carry classes, are the most responsible, trustworthy, above board gun owners. And I respect each and every one of them. I've never in my life had an experience of someone going through those classes and using their gun in an indiscriminate manner. It's the rest of y'all that are going around there thinking that you're John Wick and thinking that you're going to prove a point in traffic or at the McDonald's because they did something wrong, or you're going to show Starbucks you mean business. Those are the people that we need to get them into the responsible gun ownership. And if it prevents them from doing stupid stuff with their guns, I don't see the issue. I'm unconvinced again that we are handling our guns properly universally. I don't believe that. And we have instances of regulations and all sorts of things that we have around our nation. This one seems to be reasonable. I understand your pushback based on who gets to define and decide on those classes they take. I'm open for conversation. Those are classes that I would lean towards the gun advocates telling me what classes should be necessary and how long they should be and what they should take. I would not let the liberals or the gun grabbers define what classes you need to take. I would talk to the hunters and say, what ones have been most valuable? What are the ones that you can get the most out of? How long do they need to be? You're the ones that should be designing those classes, not the dumb liberals. But I still think there's a reason for it.
All right, we've got You Choose the News coming up. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill, we got a lot of good text messages on
did we?
this.
Yeah,
so we have
Nice.
testing for Second Amendment rights. How about passing a test for voting? All right, we'll continue.
I'm in favor of passing a test for you to run for office. I'll go that way with you. You want to talk about tests? Yeah.
Oh, it's Friday morning, Valentine's Day, and we got to give the people what they really want on this Valentine's Day. You choose the news.
Yes, into that special time of the week where we get to bring the losers back. This is the loser edition of You Choose the News.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Loser!
Let's go. Loser! You're a loser!
The Losers Club. Bunch of losers.
You're such a loser.
You made me feel like a loser!
She's a loser.
You are such a loser.
Loser.
Yes, it is a time of those stories that were ignored by both Jeff and Blake earlier in the week. You get a second shot at glory. Let's see if they are deemed worthy this time. As you know, this is America's favorite fake radio news game show. Yada, yada, do the things on the interwebs, find the dumb stories, give them stupid headlines, because no one is paying attention. Yet again, the people in charge do not know that we waste valuable resource time doing this. So shh, it's our secret. All right, here are the losers that are coming back for a second chance this week. Blake Olson's in the newsroom, Jeff Hunt in the studio. Gentlemen, your stories. Headline number 1, celebrate like Puffy. Headline number 2, it's obviously DEI's fault. Headline number 3, peekapoo. And headline number 4, the opposite of a gold star. Mr. Hunt.
DEI's fault.
Yeah, this is DEI's fault. Starbucks is facing a brand new lawsuit filed by Missouri's Attorney General, alleging the restaurant chain relies on race and sex-based hiring practices that violate federal and state laws. The complaint claims the coffee chain's hiring policies have led to slower service and higher prices for consumers because they aren't recruiting the most qualified workers. Okay. So Missouri's Attorney General Andrew Bailey is saying that Starbucks' diversity, equity, and inclusion simply means that anytime that we hire a woman or a minority, they're inherently unqualified, because if you don't hire the white guy, you're not making the best choice. I don't understand how he's going to prove this. He's going to have to show that Starbucks would have to introduce a sex and race-based hiring practices that would be in a handbook or something somewhere and have quotas. Good luck with that. I'm certain that he's not just, they're not just hiring the bad people. It's a weird one. I'm gonna hold my breath and see how he does prosecuting this one, because I got some serious questions. I'm not certain that he can say, my coffee is cold because of the damn DEI. Curse you, equality. That's awful. Yes, we can't do that. Alrighty, Blake Olson, News Department. Celebrate like Puffy, peekapoo, or the opposite of a gold star.
Peekapoo.
Yeah, peekapoo. I was hoping you're getting to this one. Henderson County, Texas is where we find ourselves this morning. At the beginning of deer season, Texas game wardens had been staking out a porta potty. That seems very strange until you realize that for the last couple of seasons, a man was hunting on a particular piece of property without the landowner's consent. He even had his own very happily done DIY blind made out of a porta potty. Yes, he had dragged a porta potty that he had found onto the property, had painted it not very well as far as camouflage, but he used spray paint to kind of try to cover it up. And then he would sit in the porta potty and wait for the deer to come by, and then peekaboo, and boom.
Pop out the door?
Yes, exactly. Yes, pop out the door. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, exactly. You're not going to use this.
That's not rare in East Texas, I promise you.
It's the idea of, I know where I'll hide. I will hide in the potty. Because when the deer have to go, I will surprise them.
Yes, exactly.
That's the part.
Take a seat, relax.
I know, exactly. The deer's like, oh, gotta go, and running over there, and the guy's like, ha, I got you now, deer. I love the fact that he brought the porta potty onto the property and then painted it. It's
same
so
here.
many layers.
Man,
yes,
that's some effort.
It is. And I love the fact that game wardens were waiting for him to show up the first day. And sure enough, there he was, very first day. Alrighty, Jeff, final choice this morning, sir. Celebrate like Puffy or the opposite of a gold star?
Let's do Puffy.
Yeah, celebrate Puffy. We find ourselves in New York, Geneseo, New York specifically, for the 104th birthday for Loretta. Loretta had only one wish for her birthday. She wanted to celebrate like Puffy, meaning she wanted to go to jail. Yes, she had never been to jail. And so the Western New York village of Avon happily fulfilled her wish. She got a tour of the jail, went through it, got to be fingerprinted and everything else. They even put her in a cell for a little bit. She learned how to make toilet wine. No, maybe not. I'm just teasing on that one. She did get to pose at the sheriff's office and the K-9 department and everything else, examine a pair of handcuffs, looked at security cameras with deputies, did the whole 9 yards. She got to go to jail. I love that. I love the fact that she got to celebrate like Puffy does. Yeah, that's it. That's the end of You Choose the News, gentlemen. Back to you, Jeff.
I
know. I said
where
toilet
to
wine.
go on that one.
I appreciate that. I know I've done a good job when Jeff's like, I have no idea what to say.
Yeah. How's Puffy doing these days? I don't know.
Oh,
All
not very
right.
good.
Yeah, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, February 14th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. A very happy Valentine's Day to you as you tune into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. We even got some limericks for you. Here's the next one. Michael Bennett. Dear Michael, so meek and decent. Vote yes for reading, you see. Inflation ran high, gas prices won't die, but he's sure that the fault not on me.
Oh, those are so good. And we're going to keep sharing those throughout the rest of the morning. This is wonderful. I love those.
People are writing limerick Bill in the comment section.
and so far, none of them are okay for us to air on the radio. And I appreciate it on a level that you guys don't get.
Let's go to the phone lines real quick. Jim, Denver, good morning. Jim, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning, guys. When it comes to guns, I love the subject because we get so many diverse opinions. But if we're going to continue to allow the Chamber of Commerce to deal with our immigration policies, we got to understand these people would bring anybody in this country to work in their factories and work for them cleaning our toilets. These people would bring Al-Qaeda in here if they could save a buck. And because of that, we need to have a registry, and the government has to keep track of who's getting the guns. And at a certain point, we have to understand that if the ratio is to a certain point with the Muslims with the guns, we've got to go confiscate those guns.
Oh, I like that. I like the interesting rhetorical question you're asking.
I mean, first of all, the gun registry, the notion that progressives want people other than the government to have guns that's what it's all about. You know, this gun registry, any of that stuff, it's always a step towards unarming law-abiding citizens.
Well, wait. What if I have 50 illegal aliens working for me, and now 45 of them have guns? I think it's time to go out and take care of those guns, because what's really important in this nation is that we have the ability to make money and make profits off of the people around us. If these people are going to overtake us with their guns, I'm telling you something. These business people would bring Al-Qaeda into their factories if they could save a buck.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the hypothetical one. I don't see a lot of illegal immigrants with guns, but I gotta challenge you on this.
What if the illegal aliens had guns?
Don't you think that the worst case scenario is the government has all the guns?
Well, let's let Halliburton administer it then, okay? Rather than the government, let's have Halliburton do it, and then they can make a buck off of it, and then it'd probably be okay, right? And we can run it like war. We can make it for profit, and then it'd be okay.
Well, Jim, I sure appreciate exploring those hypothetical ideas. Thanks for the phone call, 303-696-1971, if you want to jump in here. I mean, if all of the illegal immigrants were members of Al-Qaeda and had guns, it would clearly be a problem, but you're kind of in an interesting hypothetical. But what I'm far more concerned about, and have always been with regards to the Second Amendment, is what is your check on tyranny? If the government has all the guns, and particularly big ones and powerful ones, how do you keep a check on that? I think you do it with a well-regulated citizenry. So feel free to join the conversation. 303-696-1971.
Yeah, the only thing I've got on that is that the technology available to the government is far outpacing anything available to the private citizen. And so it's not even close to a reasonable fight at this point. And
doesn't that scare you?
No, because I don't think so. Because again, we are the government. It is we the people. And so I'm less concerned about the idea of tyranny as long as we have a nice participatory body electorate. But when we start to say we need things like, let me think here. Oh, yeah, a unitary executive And it goes back to a little bit of our,
I was
our
going to say, the
conversations.
Democrats ran around saying this guy was literally Hitler.
But then again,
But then let's take away all the guns.
But it goes back to our conversation yesterday with
rounding
Gary.
up people.
Well, and the thing is, and they do have duplicitous on that one. But going back to some of the conversation we had at the end of the show yesterday with Gary is I'm getting to a point based on the moves by Trump and Doge that I'm starting to be convinced that Congress is irrelevant, that we actually don't need Congress, which is a complete and total. And that's kind of what I see in some of what Trump and Elon are doing. That to me is a much greater threat of tyranny inside the U.S. than the idea of the government coming down for your guns. And again, unless we're going to advocate that you and I need to be able to buy a tank or a small rocket launcher or a Stinger missile system, unless we're going to advocate, we're already outmatched. There's nothing we can do. We can't buy Hellcat missiles. So unless we can do that, Hellfire, sorry. And unless we can do that, we're going to be outgunned. So that's, I think we've gotten to a point where the bootstrappy revolutionaries that are going to grab our guns that are available at our local store, and we're going to stand up to the tyranny of the government. I think that boat has sailed. I think that's beyond where we are right now based on technology. And it's an illusion and a dream to believe that that is still possible inside of America.
So much to explore there, but we got Ty Winter coming up. And now Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 25 degrees and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 51 on Valentine's Day. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the FBI is now involved in the search for a missing University of Colorado Boulder student. The school posted on social media that its police department was trying to locate Megan Trussell, who was last seen last Sunday in her residence hall. She was seen wearing a blue or gray jacket, dark-colored pants, and white platform sneakers. Anyone with information is asked to contact the CUPD. State Rep Ryan Armagost, District 64, on with Jeff and Billy last hour. He has a bipartisan gun bill, penalty for theft of firearms.
And last year, it didn't even see the light of day. We got it in the Judiciary Committee, which I sit on, but the House Judiciary Committee was so horrible last year. The makeup of it was a lot of anti-law enforcement, anti-gun, and anti-criminal punishment people on the committee. So it didn't even see the light of day. It was killed in miserable fashion in the committee, even though it was bipartisan then.
He did get the governor's support and hopes it moves to the House Judiciary. The teenager who died of injuries sustained in the RTD light rail shooting in Greenwood Village on Tuesday has been identified as 17-year-old Steve Abraham Carranza Maravilla. The second victim was 14 years old and has been released from the hospital. Police believe this was an isolated incident and the investigation continues. More than 200,000 federal employees may soon be let go by the Trump administration. The Office of Personnel Management has reportedly ordered all federal agencies to terminate their probation employees. Over a dozen states are suing DJT and Elon for unlawful delegation of executive power. The lawsuit filed Thursday argues that the authority being given to Musk is unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. And this young lady, she gets it, though. Her name is Jenny, total corruption and fraud, and it absolutely breaks her heart.
It's not about the money, it's about the corruption. It's about the cost, the human lives that have been lost because of the money, the blood money that has been spent. They've been funding the Taliban. They've been funding Al-Qaeda. How is that not the tip of the spear of the military-industrial complex? Because you can't perpetually be in war if there's no enemies to fight. How many American lives have been lost in wars?
I'm right there with her. And then there's our money spent on expired programs. Dr. Peter St. Ange.
A new bombshell report from Congress itself finds that $516 billion of annual federal spending goes to programs whose legal authority from Congress has expired. In some cases, it expired 40 years ago. Now, for perspective, $516 billion is roughly 7 times the income tax paid by the bottom half of Americans on expired programs.
Where's that cash going? The exposure of the corruption continues. We conclude week 3 today. Absolutely incredible. Vice President J.D. Vance meeting Ukrainian President Zelensky today in Munich. Tell him we don't have any more money. No more money headed his way. TikTok has returned to U.S. app stores. The social media platform became available again on the Apple and Google app stores last night after being removed almost a month ago in response to a new national security law. The app's return follows a letter from Attorney General Pam Bondi informing Apple that it wouldn't be fined for hosting the app. And it is Valentine's Day. And I'm breaking out my Tom Jones. How about you?
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Don't forget the flowers and the chocolates and whatever, and your cowboy hat and your suit, and have some fun tonight.
And for those of you that are obsessed with Donald Trump, here's a song for you.
Oh, which side are you on?
Which side are you on? Not yours.
Which side are you on?
Everybody on the left side of the radio.
Come on.
Let's sing yes. Do the hands.
Everybody.
Here we go.
Against George, we'll
Now we're to the right side of the radio.
No, let's get
This is so
within
bad.
our walls. We'll fight from dawn to dusk.
Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on?
I'm gonna sing like they do.
Which side are you on?
Which side are you on?
Yes, they're great. We're idiots. I love this show. You guys
Which
are so much fun.
side? Let's go.
Back to college
Yeah.
radio days.
Yes.
I've only heard the audio. I haven't seen the video.
Oh,
So
do
is
yourself a
it bad?
favor.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's on my ex account. Mike Lee was
Okay.
Mike Lee retweeted it yesterday and just said, "I have been watching this all day."
Now, here's the thing, Blake. Now, Blake, just do this.
Yes.
Close your eyes and imagine what you think those people look like.
Okay.
You're right. You're exactly right.
That's
The
awesome.
little women's hats on.
So
and
they
all
look
that.
like Pocahontas.
Yes, yes.
Yes, exactly. Purple
Yes, you're
hair,
absolutely right.
bad
Yes.
haircuts.
Oh man, I love it. I mean, I've heard it now 30 times, but I gotta see the video.
Yeah, you got to go watch it.
I love it.
Check out Jeff's account.
Oh man. All right. Good job, Jeff, by the way. 22 in Thornton and Thornton. And 23 in Lone Tree, 25 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Valentine's Day. Woo! That's why I'm blessed. Peacefulness. Yeah. It's Valentine. That's Heat Wave, by the way, one of my favorites. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies, mild temperatures for one day. We're going to be able to go all the way to the low to mid 50s as mild Pacific air moves in. Later today and tonight, we could see a passing snow shower, lower 20s tonight. It's going to be colder Saturday. Snow showers developing, highs upper 20s. Light snow Saturday night, could see a light accumulation, lows teens, highs upper 30s Sunday. Could see light snow chances and temperatures trending down heading into next week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
I want to tell you about my friends over at Art of Granite. Are you ready to transform your kitchen or bathroom into a stunning masterpiece? Look no further than the Art of Granite, your premier destination for exquisite granite, marble, and quartz countertops. For over 15 years, Mitch Floria, owner of the Art of Granite, has been crafting and installing custom countertops, fireplaces, showers, and more. Their team of experts will guide you through the selection process, ensuring you find the perfect stone to match your style and budget. Visit the showroom in Golden or browse their online inventory at theartofgranite.com. Discover the endless possibilities for your home renovation project. Mention KNUS and get a free bathroom countertop with new kitchen countertops, or choose a free kitchen or bathroom sink with any countertop package. Don't wait. Transform your home into the oasis you deserve. Schedule your free consultation with Mitch today. Go to theartofgranite.com. That's theartofgranite.com. Mention KNUS for those exclusive savings. Transform your kitchen or bathroom dreams into reality with theartofgranite.com. All right, Bill, I'm going to go nuclear on you.
Ooh, good. Yeah.
Nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Can
Oh,
we
hey,
add
there we go.
nuclear energy as clean energy resource in Colorado?
Only if I get superpowers. Get exposed to the radiation. I know how it works in the comic books.
I know.
I'm hoping that's true.
And The Simpsons, and oh my goodness,
Yes.
it's amazing how that probably transformed an entire generation. Looks at nuclear.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
Blinky the fish.
I know.
All right. Joining us now is Ty Winter. He represents Colorado District 47. It's out east. Kiowa counties, great counties out there, Baca. He now joins us on the program because I think we got some good news on this bill. Good morning, Ty. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
I'm good. Good morning, fellas. Thanks for having me, and happy Valentine's Day.
To you too.
Yeah, same to you.
Speaking of that, I got a little limerick for you on John Hickenlooper. Hick once ran bars full of cheer, then ran Colorado in fear. For Senate, he went. Now he's fully content to rubber stamp nonsense each year.
That is wonderful.
That's talent.
So, Ty, you have a bill on nuclear energy. Tell us about it.
Yeah, awesome. House Bill 1040. This year I stakeholdered a bill with constituents throughout my district, but more Pueblo. They've taken a hit with, the rollback and cut back at the steel mill, and then they have to shut Comanche number 3 down by 2030. So that was born out of there. I've also talked in my whole district about it. We've got the Three Corners connector power line being built from the panhandle of Oklahoma into Pueblo, and then we have the Excel build back coming through House District 47. So, what would be a better place to plug one of these or two of these micro or small modular reactors? Excited about that. Representative Alex Valdez, we take a different look at this, but this is, one time in the building where you can get a Republican and a Democrat that can come together, trying to find the same outcome, but maybe for different reasons. So, I'm really excited about the bill. And what it does is it just changes the definition. That's the first and most important thing. It moves it from green energy to clean energy. And where that's really important is when it comes to, for my district, the severance tax, with the Office of Not Just Transition in the state of Colorado, not taking it easy on coal impacted communities. And then what we've seen when the governor came in and circumvented the will of the voter and passed Senate Bill 181 that did the oil and gas setbacks, that was hard on my communities, fellas. Especially Los Animas County, it was tough on us. So it's important because they can backfill that severance tax. This is severance tax money. So it falling into the clean energy, and with the way we writ the taxing structure, not only will it provide good paying blue collar jobs in House District 47, but it's also going to backfill that severance tax that had been lost because of the draconian oil and gas bills in the state.
This is a really big deal for the future of Colorado. We're talking with Ty Winter. He represents House District 47 about really unleashing the power of nuclear energy. Now, I'm sure you get a lot of questions about nuclear meltdown. Look what happened in Japan. Look what happened in Chernobyl. You've been looking at really unleashing the power of nuclear energy. What have you found about its safety?
It's leaps and bounds safer than it ever was. First and foremost, we did some research, and believe it or not, the fear of nuclear energy comes from the boomer generation. That's because, unfortunately, they had to hide under their desks during the Cold War. So that's really what kicks it off. And it's, we have a big education piece to get around that. But what's exciting about this is these modular reactors, they fit on about the footprint of a Walmart in its parking lot. And before, in the big tower reactors, the land grab around them was so big because of security. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have guys guarding these, no different than the big ones. But another thing about these is they can be moved. So could they be a target? Yes, they could be. But it's a lot different. It's a different day. It's a different day for energy in the nation. And they're doing this successfully around the world. I mean, France has a huge program, and we know they're backfilling Germany with power right now because the Russians turned off the pipeline. So it's a popular energy source. The hard part about last night was all the misnomers and misinformation. We actually, believe it or not, fellas, had a lady come in and say that we had won World War II, and the only reason we dropped that bomb was to see what it could do. I mean, there was comments like that made on the mic, and just the most fear-mongering things that is possible. But then the scientists and the people that actually work in these nuclear facilities, they're talking about the safety, they're talking about the efficiency, they're talking about how they actually recycle nuclear waste to create power. And the other side was, like I said, the boomer generation and coming in and just fear-mongering the heck out of the committee.
Ty Winter, now looks like the bill passed yesterday, 8-5. Was that right? Did I read that correctly?
Yes, sir.
So a good bipartisan. It looks like Democrats are willing to come over on this one.
Yeah, like I said, it was an honor to run this bill with Rep. Alex Valdez. And there's a lot of times in this building we vehemently disagree. But this is one time we could come together and get something done for the people of Colorado and, put this in the portfolio. I'm an all above energy Republican. I believe in coal, oil and gas, wind and solar, geothermal. I mean, who doesn't want a big portfolio? The bigger the portfolio, the better. But at the end of the day, and you guys, I say this around at the Capitol and the younger kids laugh at me, but at the end of the day, I want Colorado to be that state, like Tom Bodette, Motel 6 will leave the lights on for you, because that's exactly what this is about: firm, reliable power. That way, as Colorado moves its future, because Colorado is becoming a tech state, AI, data centers, and the only way we can compete, especially with Wyoming, who's building the Terra plant right now, is to put these small modular plants in, and we'll be able to compete and really boost the tax base of this state while making sure we have that firm, reliable power to keep making Colorado great.
So let's talk about the future. This passed through the committee, 8-5 bipartisan vote. Now head to the floor of the House. Game it out for us. Do you think it'll pass? Do you think the Senate will pass? Do you think Polis will sign it?
I really hope so. We'll work backwards. I think the governor will sign it. And the first year I was here, I ran Bill 1247, and that was a study bill. And nuclear was in the study bill, and that bill was signed. When it comes to the House, I think that, my caucus will be all for it. And I know that there's a handful of other Dems that, one Dem, his daughter works on a nuclear sub, and there is a bipartisan nuclear caucus. So I think the conversation will be broader. I think that we're going to be able to hear from a lot more people, but I'm confident we can get it out of the House, and then we'll turn it over to Senator Liston out of El Paso County. And then Senator Dylan Roberts, who is kind of in the same boat I'm in, and why he's on this bill, I'm not going to speak for him, but I believe because he represents the Craig area, which, that's a coal-impacted community too. So I think he's looking to replace that severance tax and tax base for his local governments while keeping those people working in Craig with good paying jobs. So, my hopes are it's going to happen, but anything can happen in the House of Representatives.
Ty Winter, Colorado House Representative from District 47, joining Jeff and Bill live. We are going nuclear, as my partner has said just a minute ago, talking about the idea of bringing nuclear power into Colorado. I think I speak for everybody listening to our show when I ask you, Representative Winter, will this lower our energy bills?
I truly believe it will. One thing that I've done a ton of research, and the more companies you get to buy into your local power grids, it has that trickle down effect. So the savings start to roll in. So, we're already paying through the nose when it comes to green energy. We've seen the cost of energy, I think, jump about 70% in this state. Why not bring in another technology and add to this? I think that it'll bring down bills. I don't think that we're going to see a huge jump in cost. I mean, these plants are a lot of money to put up. But at the end of the day, I think as these plants go up and as we see business spring up around them, that it'll help the ratepayers in a trickle-down type of effect. And that's from the study that I've seen.
Yeah, I would agree with you that diversity of options will help. The more times that we're drawing from a diverse realm of possible energy producers, it can help and does create even some competition inside the industry in and of itself. Now, I want to go to the next step. This is Representative Ty Winter, Colorado House Rep District 47 with Jeff and Bill live. I want to talk, it's kind of twofold. One, how long does it take to build one of these things? And you spoke about recycling the waste. what do we want to do with the waste? Because that was the big bugaboo back in the 80s as well, that we were getting all this radioactive waste and we just had to bury it in the ground and hope that we all didn't grow 3 arms one day. So how long does it take to build these, the cost, and then what are we doing with the waste?
First and foremost, just so you guys know, this bill is basically like the cornerstone of a foundation, a good foundation. This is just a start of conversation. So it may be like we said in committee last night, before we get a company wanting to come in and do this based upon, I truly think at the federal level, the Trump administration's a huge fan of it. Both people that he put in positions that are energy positions from Colorado are both fans of it. So I think we're going to see those federal dollars trickle down. I think we'll see some reappropriation of the wind and solar, electric vehicle dollars. They'll get pushed into nuclear projects. But it could be 5 or 6 years before we even have a build out come into the state, leave alone break ground with shovels. Yesterday, some of the testimony said 5 to 8 years to build some of these plants based upon, just their security and happen to make sure all the specs are right. So I could, this could be, and this is what we were telling the Dems on the committee that were, really against this is just to start the conversation. It's that cornerstone in the foundation. By the time that happens, we could be looking at 15 to 20 years from now, fellas, before we even see one hit the ground. Now, I hope that wouldn't be the case. I hope with the Trump administration and, we know our state's $750 million to over $1 billion in the hole from some of the crazy things we fund. Definitely not a revenue problem. It's a priority problem. But, it could be anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years. It all depends on how the regulation comes from the Fed and what companies are interested, which I don't think we're going to have a problem finding companies are interested. I'm actually in House District 47, San Isabel Electric put in for a FDA grant and loan to do a build out, which they weren't awarded. So, and then the safety issue. And when you talk about the recycling, after listening to the experts and some research I do, they basically take these rods to a facility and they cut them up and they extract the waste from them. And then a lot of these new reactors, like thorium reactors, they put them in those and they spin the waste. So from what I understand from what the French do is they end up with a minimal amount of nuclear waste at the end of the day after they've used it once, recycled it, and used it twice. They bring down the waste. I think it was like 4% of a gas is what one of the experts said yesterday in testimony. So, and then at that point, they store that on site. Just like Mount St. Vrain, they have all that the stuff that were there is still on site until they find a better way to deal with it. So, right now, that's part of the process too. There's no storage facility in the United States or no serious storage facility. But I think as you see more plants come online, there's projects all over the country happening right now that we'll be advancing and moving fast on trying to figure out the storage issue.
Yeah, I think the waste is going to be probably the biggest hurdle that you're going to have going forward. The French are doing some amazing things. And as far as safety, and I hate to bring this one up, but the Chinese are doing some stuff that is cutting edge on nuclear power plants and safety. Some things that have some self-regulating devices in there that when a particular meltdown starts to occur, the safety valves actually cool the rods and everything immediately because of how the systems are set up. What they're doing there is really phenomenal as far as if you're looking at safety down the road and making sure these things don't have meltdowns. The Chinese are on the cutting edge of some of this technology. It's really crazy to see what they're doing.
You're right. We're behind the game. And people have to have the conversation. And this bill don't tell any community that they have to have one. This bill don't tell the state of Colorado that they have to have one. But what it does is give us the competitive edge, not only as a state, but as a nation. So, I think this is a lot of discussion. There's a lot to learn. There's an education campaign that's going to have to happen with Coloradans and frankly, nationwide. But if we're going to compete with the rest of the world, we all believe in making America great again and keeping America great. And I've been advocate for nuclear energy for quite some time, even before I got into the Capitol. And I think that this is one way, as President Trump tries to start to swing our country from a consumption country back to production country, I think that this is the only way that we can get the power to do that in this country again and be a serious player on the global field.
Talking to Ty Winter, he represents House District 47. Now, Ty, Chris Wright is a big proponent of nuclear energy, the new Secretary of Energy under Donald Trump. He's a Coloradan. Are we going to see his involvement in any of this stuff, helping push this stuff through in Colorado? Have you heard from him?
Well, not yet. I actually heard from Congressman Hurd last night. He shot me a text and said, hey, we appreciate what you're doing, moving that forward. And then we all know Diane DeGette has really pushed this issue with some legislation that she worked on. So I'm hoping we will see it. And, that's actually a great idea. I'm sitting right across from my aide right now, so maybe I'll have him write him a letter. Now that it's made it out of committee, I think it's worth reaching out to him and seeing what kind of information he can give to help us. So thank you for that good idea. I appreciate it.
It's an exciting time. I love the fact that Chris Wright is our new Secretary of Energy. I think he's brilliant. Like you, Ty Winter, he's an all of the above type of energy guy. Let's unleash the power of the American energy industry. Ty, great work on this. We'll continue to track it. Will you update us as this moves forward?
Yeah, for sure. I'll make sure comm stays in touch. And I really want to thank you all for what you do too. It's important how you guys advocate in the conversations that you have. And, God bless House District 47. God bless Colorado. But most importantly, God bless these United States of America.
Thank you, Representative Ty Winter, representing House District 47.
Thanks for your time, sir.
Join us in the conversation. Are you ready to go nuclear? I am. I think the safety's there. Like oil slick problems or gas line problems. You always have the potential risk out there, but we're going to need energy. This is, I think, God-given energy to our world. We just got to do it right, and it could make everything cheaper and more affordable.
I'm a big proponent of nuclear energy if used properly. I think that we have the ability to use it, and the safety is getting much better. And this is kind of a weird callback for me, but a very young Billy, when he was first cutting his teeth doing debate and stuff, went around and was part of a team debate through a series of parochial schools here in Denver that was debating, and this is early on, the idea of green energy versus nuclear energy. And I was on team nuclear and went around and debated a whole bunch of other, kids around Denver on the idea of using solar and wind and things that you've actually heard me advocate for. But at the core, I really, really do think nuclear offers a wonderful opportunity. And this is coming from a kid that's been advocating it literally since like 5th and 6th grade is when I was doing that.
It's time to go nuclear. Well,
Yes,
join
it
the
is.
conversation, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Speaking of Dan Caplis, I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy's pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. You show up to negotiate and deal with those big, powerful insurance companies, and you hired the attorney because you saw him go by on a bus billboard. Come on, get a real winner. This guy's with us on the values, and Dan Caplis, like I just said, is a real winner in the courtroom. He's the GOAT, all right? He's believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law, so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number. Are you ready? 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Are you ready to go nuclear? Well, House Bill 251040, adding nuclear energy as a clean energy resource. This moves it a step forward. It's a bipartisan bill. Just had a great conversation with Ty Winters, helped leading this. It's got a good chance, he thinks, of getting passed and then getting signed into law. But it's still going to be 5-8 years from now before we start to see any modular nuclear plants, they call them, here in Colorado. So what do you think of it? Let's go to the phone lines.
Someone's going to try to steal it. I'm just teasing. I'm just saying. Come in, hook up with, a big dually and let's go. Yeah.
Drive away with it.
Yes.
Dualies. I
Can't
love
wait
it.
to see that.
All right. Let's go to Jack, Wyoming. Good morning, Jack. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Boy, it shows you what little life I have. I listen to you guys, though.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You got to get that radio fixed so you can change the channel, my friend.
There you go.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that, Billy. Hey, I built a nuclear power plant 30 miles north of Manhattan, which is on the Hudson River. Of course, they have to be on a river in order to have cooling water. And they decommissioned it. There's 3 units there. I worked on Unit 2 in the 70s. And I did the critical, me and others, of course, did the critical piping on it. And it's extremely stringent. And that pipe that is, some of it has a 2-inch sidewall on it. And when you start welding on it, there's 2 welders on a joint, a 20-inch joint. And they won't let you stop welding for like 2 days. I mean, you don't go home. You just sit there because they don't want the heat change. But anyway, it's very critical stuff. But anyway, they decommissioned that. And that was 25% of the electricity that went to Manhattan. I don't know where Manhattan is getting their electricity from now since they've shut down Indian Point. It's called Indian Point. But I worked on Unit 2. Now, the other thing you mentioned is Chris Wright. Chris Wright is the founder and the CEO of Liberty Oilfield Services, which is basically a compression, and actually it's much more technical than Halliburton or Schlumberger is. And it's starting to push them out of the way, actually. I've got 10,000 shares of their stock, and I came in at about 12. It's about 20 now. And I'm putting all of my investment capital into oil and gas. And there's another company called TXO out of Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm getting $11,300 every 3 months just on dividends out of them, period.
Wow.
Never mind the ability for them to grow to where the stock value could double, triple, split, and do all the rest of that stuff. I'll become a billionaire off of that company alone. But that's a hell of a company, that TXO. And the only thing they do is they buy the underground rights, the lease rights. That's all they do. And it's massive. They're in 7 states. They just bought a 58,000 acre area. I think it was in Texas. And they went ahead and put on 5 acres. They drilled a couple of test holes. And the evaluation of what natural gas is in those 3 test holes they have is capable of tripling their natural gas inventory. And they're doing that. They're in 7 states right now. So it's 3 trillion cubic feet of natural gas just in the 5 acre area of that 5,800 acre lease they bought. I'm putting my money on oil and gas. Thank you.
I agree with you too, Jack. I think it's going to be unleashed under this administration. It's exciting. It's fun to watch. And I've gotten to know Chris in the policy realm. I'm not an investor like you, although maybe I should. It sounds like a good deal. But I've gone to documentaries. I mean, Chris Wright, this is the Secretary of Energy under Trump. He would host documentaries and conversations on nuclear energy. He is brilliant. He's a Stanford guy.
He's a brilliant, yes.
I mean,
he's a brilliant man.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting what he does. But to your point, Jack, I think oil and gas is going to be unleashed. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Thanks so much, Jack. Enjoy your Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And congratulations on your success with those investments. Goodness.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Let's go to Brian Arvada. Good morning, Brian. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Morning, guys. Happy Valentine's Day, or
Same to you.
what I like to say, national commerce, one of the national commerce holidays.
Yes,
100%.
it is.
But anyway, it's a time to reflect to your loved ones. So I'll give it that. Hey, just when I'm about to give up on Billy, he brings me back. And that's what I love about him. The nuclear thing, definitely. I was starting to think maybe Billy was like solar farms and windmills were going to get us efficient energy. But no, he brings it back to practicality for me. And that's what I love about him. And yeah, we got, we're going to hear from the left, the Manhattan Project. and Chernobyl. And, we're going to hear all the sky is falling, but we actually should have done this 25 years ago, and to take time off, take pressure off the grids that are overstressed. We're paying too much for energy. My Excel bill went up 30% from last year. I'm using the same wattage as last year. And so we need to get rid of these monopoly, energy companies. I can't shop energy. I'm locked into Excel. A guy down in Centennial's locked into Allied or something. He can't get Excel. So we got to get rid of them, and we get a few grids. Of course, I don't want them in my backyard, but somewhere safe, somewhere guarded, and let's take some pressure off the grid. It just makes sense. So, Billy, kudos to you. And you've turned me on a lot of things and off. But you know what?
I appreciate it.
That's what I love about you. You keep it real.
I am a dichotomy. I am a challenge at times. And I think that there are times in which people use too much of a purity test as far as not what's practical and what can be used. And I appreciate you talking about the idea of the solar farm and the wind farms. I've always said use those limited nature. But what I want to do is I want to free us up from OPEC. That's why I would lean into green energy. And I think nuclear is a wonderful way to do that. I don't know if you caught, my friend Brian, that one of the largest, it's either in Nevada or California. One of the largest solar farms is closing down after a decade. And a decade ago, it was hailed as this great step forward, and we were going to be doing this wonderful thing with solar. And if you examined it at the face back then, you're like, oh, this is going to fail. There's no way. It's that big, giant one that uses all the mirrors in the middle of the desert. It's like 5 acres wide. And they were taking these mirrors that were capturing the sun and then focusing them towards these towers.
Yes,
and the theory was the towers would then heat this water, and the water would provide some geothermal. And I mean, if you took like 2 minutes thinking about it, you knew this thing was going to fail. And it turns out, well, the technology is finicky and it doesn't produce as much energy as they said it was going to. Surprise!
I think there's a place for solar. I really do. Like if people want to overpay for it and take some stress off their Excel bill, I think there's a place for it. I'm not against it. But there's 2 big windmill things on Highway 93, which is super windy, and it shuts down at times. I live over out west between Golden and Boulder, and they shut the highway down when it's so windy out there. And you know what? Those things are never moving. There's 2 big ones, and I drive by it, and they're never moving. I'm going, what are those doing? And it's the most windiest place. We call it Windy Westwoods, and you know what? Those never turn.
Here's the thing.
It's a waste.
Here's the thing, Brian, that convinced me that the people that push for the wind farms, and again, I think like you, there is a place for it, but it's not going to be a dominant one. It's not going to replace our oil and gas in any way, shape, or form. The thing that convinced me that the people promoting the wind farms aren't really serious about the green energy and saving the earth is because those big, giant blades on the windmills aren't recyclable. If you were really interested in the green, you'd recycle the giant wind blades. The fact that they didn't do that in manufacturing tells you, Brian, tells Jeff, tells me, and everybody else listening to our show, they weren't serious about this whole save the planet thing in the first place. They weren't serious about it.
No, because it takes oil products to build them, Billy.
Yeah, it does. Yep, exactly, man. Exactly.
It's so counterintuitive, the left. And, the sky is falling argument it's losing. And, I think it's almost like someone firing a gun and there's no more bullets in it. It's just click, click, click. When's the clicking going to stop?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm waiting for. And you guys keep up the good work for that.
Brian, thanks for your time. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day and keep listening on Monday. I'm sure I'm going to piss you off by Monday. So, I'm sure I'll do something that'll make you mad at me, but I appreciate you.
Thank you, Brian. Text message from 2775 wants to combine our conversations. Nuclear weapons for everyone. All right.
That's a good one.
Continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is News Talk 710 KNUS.
Just letting the music play to get you in the mood, Bill. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
If you didn't know,
to
the
all of our
name of the
listeners.
song is Get Lucky.
Yeah. I've got some limericks for Colorado's finest politicians. Phil Weiser. Here's one on Valentine's Day. Oh, Phil Weiser. Our AG, so noble and wise, says crime's just a myth in disguise. While carjackings rise, he covers his eyes, and justice, it's all compromise.
That needs to be a tattoo on George Broccoli's back. Big one. That's just a big shot on the back.
Oh.
And then when he settles the case, he can rip his shirt off like Hulk Hogan and then flex. Yeah.
So Bill Armstrong, who I used to work for, former U.S. Senator from Colorado, president of Colorado Christian University, he ran for state house, state senate, Congress, and Senate, won all those. He was a very successful politician, but he did lose a race one time. And he would often tell politicians, because he had run for lieutenant governor at one point and then lost it. He goes, "Don't worry, you'll never forget your loss."
That is true. I can point back to the difficult losses I had playing soccer much more than the wins. The ones that stick with me are the losses.
It's okay. We get it.
Yeah.
We get it. But
We
yes,
get it.
Phil Weiser covers his eyes in justice. It's all compromise.
So good.
I got those up on x.com/Jeff Hunt if you want to go see my collection of limericks for Colorado's finest politicians. We're going to talk the scandal in Jefferson County schools next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, February 14th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Man, I like that opening. Kick it off.
Oh, me too. This is good. Oh, yeah.
Who is this, Mr. Music Man? Do you know the artist?
No, I don't have to. I'm going to think about this one. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I hope you all are having a great Valentine's Day. We got some goofy little limericks for you all about our favorite politicians in Colorado. This one, Bill, Jenna Griswold. Here's my Valentine's Day limerick for Jenna Griswold.
And I think that was Boston.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds right.
I think, but again, that's a tough one. I get the Boston, Kansas foreigner. There's a whole thing there. They blend together for me that I'm not always the best at picking out their music, but I'm guessing.
Miss Jenna says voting is fair, yet trust in elections is rare. Ballots pile high, concerns get denied, but questioning her, don't you dare.
That's wonderful. That is fantastic.
Little Valentine's Day love limerick to Jenna Griswold out there. We've got a lot this hour. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. Lindsay Datko with Jeffco Kids First is going to share some crazy stories. Bill, libs of TikTok.
Yeah.
Yesterday. Okay. Libs of TikTok. Big X account.
Real
right?
big.
Okay. Millions, 4.2 million followers. She's on top of all the stuff happening in schools with this woke agenda stuff. This is what she says. I don't say this lightly. After running this account for 3 years, I believe Jefferson County School District in Colorado may be the worst school district in this country.
Ooh.
The DOJ and the Department of Education should start an investigation into this district. Some of their actions are straight up criminal.
Wow.
What is she talking about? You're not going to want to miss this conversation. And then a little bit later in the hour, Erin Lee's going to join us, Executive Director of Protect Kids Colorado, about what's happening in the Poudre School District. So bad news out there, but good news, Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, Jeff and Billy, thank you very much. 28 degrees and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 51 on Valentine's Day. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I love living in a country where you can wake up every day and say, I wonder what the president's up to today. And you can just find it out. You just figure it out. It's online at basically just whatever he's doing.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The GOP's budget plan is being advanced by the Republican-controlled House Budget Committee. The committee voted along party lines to send the resolution to the House. The plan includes over $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. The freaking corruption being exposed is ridiculous, and 47 is laying the hammer down. The IRS is not exempt.
Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So it's they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing. And you know, that force is building. I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And you know, they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk because these people get it. They're very smart people.
Yes, and I'm with Jenny, the patriot.
I want justice. I want every single person who had a hand in this corruption to be in prison. Every single one. I don't care if they're 100 years old. I don't care. They need to be in prison for the rest of their lives.
Agree. Tulsi confirmed, and RFK Jr., HHS on Thursday, even though the corrupt deep stater Mitch McConnell did not vote for him.
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that he wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even. And that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators. And so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader, you could raise a lot of money.
Oh, Trump was talking to Caitlin Collins right there from CNN. She's been pushing the propaganda on the left for years now. The 47 administration could be letting go of more than 200,000 federal employees. The Office of Personnel Management has reportedly advised all federal agencies to terminate their probationary employees. Ty Winner, Colorado House Rep, District 47 has a new bill. Can we ever get nuclear energy here in Colorado? I'm all for it, but I grew up during the age of hearing about 3 Mile Island over and over and over from the leftist media.
The fear of nuclear energy comes from the boomer generation. That's because, unfortunately, they had to hide under their desks during the Cold War. So that's really what kicks it off. And it's, we have a big education piece to get around that. But what's exciting about this is these modular reactors, they fit on about the footprint of a Walmart in its parking lot. And before, in the big tower reactors, the land grab around them was so big because of security. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have guys guarding these, no different than the big ones. But another thing about these is they can be moved.
He was on Jeff and Billy last hour. Great conversation. It moves to the floor after passing 8-5 bipartisan support. Have to get it rolling, though. Pope Francis is canceling his next 3 days of events after being admitted to the hospital. The Vatican said he's being treated for bronchitis. Today's development is just the latest in a years-long string of concerns over the health of the leader of the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. Vice President J.D. Vance is meeting with the Ukrainian President Zelensky today. The two are set to meet at the Munich Security Conference, which gets underway this morning. Zelensky is expected to warn the U.S. against trusting Russian President Putin. Yeah, good luck with all that. We shouldn't trust either of you, but, we'll work with you. But I think at this point, I trust Putin more than I do Victoria Nuland and these corruptocrats. Philadelphia will celebrate the Eagles' Super Bowl victory this morning. City officials expect 1 million people to attend today's parade. The team will march down the famous Rocky Steps as a part of the celebration. But they fumble if Billy's soul is not on a float.
Well, the Eagles took belt to ass, and that's what it's all about. Couldn't run from the Chiefs, but you just got blown out.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. I cannot get enough of that thing. I love it. And speaking of love, it's Valentine's Day. Buy her roses, call her from work, and don't forget. 25 in North Glen, 26 in Littleton, 28 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue TGIF. And it is V-Day. Bring it, Tommy.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
Yes. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies, mild temperatures for one day. We're going to be able to go all the way to the low to mid 50s as mild Pacific air moves in. Later today and tonight, we could see a passing snow shower, lower 20s tonight. It's going to be colder Saturday. Snow showers developing, highs upper 20s. Light snow Saturday night, could see a light accumulation, lows teens, highs upper 30s Sunday. Could see light snow chances and temperatures trending down heading into next week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to get to our guests here in a moment or two. I want to take a moment on Valentine's Day to talk to you about A wound. No, not a wound to your heart, but maybe it's just a wound that you have on your body. Those persistent wounds. As you get older, you don't heal like you did when you were younger, right? Yeah. Those things stick around for a while. And a slow healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore can really change your life in a dramatic fashion. And all you have to do is ignore it. You understand that ignoring the problem doesn't fix the problem. But when you have all sorts of other things going on in your life and maybe even some other comorbidities, things that are going on, other medical issues you have to deal with, a small cut doesn't seem like a big deal, but it can become a very, very big deal because that torn skin tissue is the perfect place to get dirt, germs, bacteria into your body. So here's what you got to do. Reach out to my friends, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Brand new here in our state, and they are changing the game. Jennifer, who started Wound Care Associates of Colorado, this is a personal mission for her because her uncle had a small cut on his toe, and it ended up taking his life. Yes, a small cut. He had some other comorbidities, things like diabetes and neuropathy. He had other medical issues that he was paying attention to. When he developed a small cut on his toe, that's not a big deal. Really, is it? Oh, you can let that heal by itself. And that was his mistake. Jennifer's uncle let that wound go for a while. It developed a slight infection, started to get a little red, kind of, when you touch it, got a little sore. Well, he finally sought medical care and they said, hey, this thing's infected. After doing some examinations and some treatments that didn't respond, they ended up doing an amputation. But that amputation wasn't enough because the infection had already spread inside of his blood system, his organs, his bones, took his life a couple of days later. Yes, the small cut on his toe ended up being the reason that she was at the memorial service. So do not mess around. Contact Wound Care Associates of Colorado. They are changing the game here in our state. Here's how. First, they're going old school. They're bringing concierge medical service to your home. When you go to coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com, and schedule your appointment with Wound Care Associates of Colorado, their wound certified nurse comes to your home on your time frame, on your calendar, at your convenience, to give you all the treatment you would get inside of any other facility where you'd have to drive and sit in the waiting room and eventually go inside the office and stuff like that. They do it in the private comfort and care of your own home. It is compassionate, comprehensive treatment from a wound certified nurse so they can change orders and everything else and tailored to your needs. What they want to do is fix the wound. Many wound care treatment facilities around Colorado just try to maintain the wound. We've talked about my aunt. That was an issue with her because they were just maintaining the wound, not making it better. And it led her to spending some time in the hospital. And that's a story for a different day. And it was awful. But if she would have had Wound Care Associates of Colorado, that never would have happened. Don't let these type of tragedies take place in your life. If someone in your life has a slow healing cut, a pressure sore, a diabetic ulcer, contact Wound Care Associates of Colorado today. Don't wait. Waiting can put their life in danger or your life in danger. coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. It's a custom tailored plan that they do in the comfort and privacy of your own home, and they will reduce the risk of complications and promote faster healing. What's different about Colorado, the Wound Associates of Colorado, is that they are trying to fix the problem, not just maintain the problem. They know the danger of if that wound doesn't heal, they're going to make sure it heals right. Reach out to them, coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. And when you do, tell me you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because we sure do appreciate it.
That's great to hear, Bill. Not good to hear is this crazy story coming from Jefferson County School District. This is CBS 4, Sean Boyd. Listen to this.
Colorado investigator Sean Boyd uncovered documents that show school officials helped an underage student declare herself homeless so she could move in with a teacher. Sean Boyd joins us now to talk more on this. And Sean, she was not homeless.
No, and the school district admits that those involved knew that. Yet they helped a student fill out a federal form that said she was homeless, then hid it from her parents so she could move in with a teacher. And that's just the beginning.
There's like this icky feeling that something's wrong. And then as it progressed, it only got worse.
Heather McCormick says there were red flags at Columbine High School long before the school district hired investigators who found teacher Leanne Carney had been grooming a female student. McCormick is friends with that student's mother.
And there wasn't one person who stood up and was like, something doesn't seem right, and reached out to the parents.
Instead, school emails obtained through an open records request show counselors purposefully kept the parents in the dark while they helped their daughter fill out a federal form declaring herself homeless so she could move in with a teacher.
I think it's really scary that we can take teenagers or children of any age and just say, whatever you say is truth, we're not going to investigate it. We're going to take big steps to declare you homeless without notifying your family.
Investigators say Principal Scott Christie also knew about the girl's plans and didn't tell her parents. McCormick says the mom stumbled upon the homeless document while cleaning her daughter's room and later found a letter describing her daughter kissing Carney, along with thousands of calls and texts between the two. She says she sent Carney a message warning her it needed to stop and then took the calls and texts to the principal, who she says dismissed them, telling her Miss Carney takes interest in helping kids navigate their sexuality. You think the school would have reacted differently had Carney been a male teacher?
Oh, absolutely.
Carney quit, but it would take 2 years and pressure from the mom before she lost her teaching license. McCormick says her friend lost far more. When her daughter turned 18, she moved out of state with the teacher.
It's really scary to think that there are schools and teachers and administrations that are working behind your back, not in the best interest of your child.
Jeffco School District sent me a statement saying, obviously, the student did not meet the criteria to be considered homeless, and the staff involved in this isolated incident were addressed as part of the investigation, as the proper channels in place were not followed. While we have taken every step to remove this former employee from Jeffco and prevent her working in another educational setting, we recognize this is of little comfort to the family. We deeply regret how profoundly this violation has affected the family. And the district also says it's changed policies to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Holy, but it's not just this. There's more. Lindsay Datko of Jeffco Kids First has been tracking a whole series of systemic problems with Jefferson County School District. She joins us now on the Jeff and Bill Show. Lindsay, thanks so much for taking time to join us this morning. Happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on.
So let's talk about the kind of bigger, broader problems that Jeffco School District is facing. This obviously one that just broke the other day, heartbreaking, but there seems to be some really big problems there. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, well, 2.5 years ago, this broken-hearted mother came to me and told me her story, which you just heard. We started documenting and working for accountability. And we just recently ensured that the teacher's license was revoked through the state and the state attorney general, who referenced the grooming after their investigation. And because that just took place, that enabled Sean Boyd to do a story on this. But a lot of concerns around the fact that it took so long to revoke the teacher's license, knowing she could have been teaching students all of this time. So that kind of is indicative of many other issues that we are seeing with other sexual abuse and misconduct in Jeffco and what they addressed at the board meeting last night. But if you'd like, I'd like to tell you from the parents' perspective some things that weren't reported.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so the parents discovered a note that their daughter had been kissing her teacher, who she had her sophomore year. She was now a senior. And they also tracked her on Life 360 at the teacher's home. And because of this, the parents told the teacher through text, please stop communicating with my daughter. They received no response, and they became very suspicious with adults at the school because the daughter began talking about other adults who were taking part in this whole process. Because they were suspicious, they went immediately to the sheriff's department who told them to begin documenting everything. And the very next day, they set an appointment with the principal. And the daughter, within that time, said she was going to be moving in with a teacher. The parents contacted the sheriff, and the sheriff told them again, request a meeting with the principal and lay it all out. So they held a meeting with the principal for 2 hours, where the parents report in the investigation that he said he was aware of the text messages, and the parents said, why wasn't that a red flag to you? And his response was, well, she's passionate about helping students navigate their sexuality. The next day, that's when the mom was cleaning her daughter's room, and she found the homeless paperwork under her bed. This was a very short period of time as their daughter began slipping through their fingers here. She turned 18 and moved out with the other teacher, graduated. The parents watched from afar as the daughter did not want contact, didn't get pictures, and then the student eventually moved to California with this teacher who had groomed her at Columbine High School.
Oh, and I mean, as Sean Boyd pointed out, the principal knew about this. I mean, has there been any accountability for Columbine High School and its leadership?
Well, not sufficient. The emails that the parents exchanged with the chief of legal basically just said, you know, we've done what we can do. Everybody was duped. We addressed the people who signed the paperwork. Well, this is federal paperwork that was falsified. There's something called the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act, and that paperwork is connected. There's a Jeffco liaison for that, McKinney-Vento. And if you look on their website, it defines what a unaccompanied homeless youth circumstances would be, and the student certainly did not fit that. Also, local policy talks about the McKinney-Vento Act and how if a student is declared homeless and the parents dispute that, then there's an entire process to go through. Well, the parents didn't even know it was being signed, and it's ultimate undermining of a parent to declare a child homeless behind their backs. And through open records, which we do extensively, we did discover that these employees explicitly, without a doubt, left the parents out of the process and avoided them.
We're talking
and
Go ahead, Lindsay.
And I just wanted to say, you know, these parents were paying her AP test fees. They were paying her for her car insurance, her swimming fees. She had her sights set on going to the Air Force Academy, and all of that dream was just swept away.
We're talking with Lindsay Datko. She's with Jeffco Kids First. Now, you have drafted a letter to the superintendent as well as the school board because there's some systemic problems within Jefferson County schools. The former Jeffco chief of schools, for instance, found dead after he was allegedly involved in the possession of child sexual assault material. This is the guy that was in charge of all the schools, the chief of schools. Talk to us about your letter you sent about a week ago to the school board as well.
Yeah, we drafted this letter after a long period of time of collecting documents and evidence and open records. Just as the board was preparing to have this meeting after the chief of schools incident, which really put us at rock bottom after many stories coming out of Jeffco schools. I think it's important to mention that this chief of schools had a great deal to do with these investigations, including that Columbine investigation. That puts a lot into question and makes people very nervous, including this family. But we drafted this letter after collecting documents. We have a group of 8,000 families. We're a nonpartisan group, just working to fight for the innocence of children. And we work very hard to make it a place everyone is comfortable to be. And because of that, our network is strong. We have families in every school. We have employees all over the district who send us information that we're able to verify through open records. And so we crafted this letter, which has made a lot of waves now nationally. The Attorney General has expressed interest in talking with us further about it.
Is that the Attorney General of Colorado or the U.S. Attorney General?
of Colorado. They
So
have
Phil Weiser.
his education
Okay.
department is who
Interesting.
we've contacted. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know if you want me to share any of these incidents, but I do know that many people have said they get to number 2 or 3 and they have to stop reading. It's very difficult to hear.
I mean, the gist of the letter is that there seems to be systemic problems, right? You list at least, is it eight cases of basically child abuse that's taking place within Jefferson County schools. Is that right?
That's correct. And, one of the most appalling is that if you remember the Creighton Middle School family liaison who molested immigrant children, the most vulnerable children, and I'm a teacher who taught bilingual students, tender spot in my heart there, and he molested them in his office. Come to find out he had a criminal history, but on top of that, he had a 2-year warrant out for his arrest that was missed. And I feel that needs to have huge headlines. And so luckily this letter was able to bring that out more. But what happened there? Why wasn't that caught? That would have saved these children. We have others like the Chloe Castro social worker who abused a young boy in her very school office, the most trusted person in Jeffco schools in a position of great trust. And we reviewed paperwork that showed there was a settlement based on her actions and another family that she was involved with. And so we're just asking the question repeatedly, are we reporting and are we following through? And that was very much validated last night at the board meeting, that those questions and those gaps do exist. And we want to see a triage operation here. The summits and the councils and the meetings and the trainings and the curriculum for children are all noble causes, but we need to see an immediate, direct, and concrete triage operation to close these gaps.
Talking with Lindsay Datko, Jeffco Kids First. We only got a few more minutes left. Lindsay, tell us about how the school board is responding to your letter. What was said last night? Are there changes being made?
Yeah, I have not received a response to this letter. I do have direct communication with the school board and the superintendent that they do partner with us on a pretty solid basis. But I have not received any response to this letter. I will tell you that listening last night at the board meeting, that many elements of my letter were addressed, such as the teacher in Jeffco who was forced out to resign in lieu of resignation and ended up in Adams 12. That situation was addressed, not directly, but I recognize that and many other elements of this letter. And so the Ralston House was also involved in that meeting. That brought incredible security. They addressed the fact that Jeffco Schools uses often the trusted adult term, and they mentioned that the majority of cases happen from a child's trusted adult. And so we really need to rein in how schools are using that term. They allow schools to self-identify, or teachers to self-identify and post signage saying they are trusted adults. There are many practices there, I think, that now will be reined in after last night. So it was a good meeting, and we hope to see actual concrete changes again.
We're talking with Lindsay Datko. She's the founder of Jeffco Kids First. If you want to connect with Jeffco Kids First, there's a Facebook group. Just type in Jeffco Kids First. A lot of this news is coming out there. Look, it requires engaged parents, right? Predators are going to try to hide this, and you got to ask questions. You got to push back. You got to challenge. You got to build coalitions and community to go after these predators that are doing horrible things to these kids. And I'm so glad to have parents like you fighting back. Lindsay, thank you so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill show this morning.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This is really a unified effort, and that's one positive thing.
And I think, like you said, this is a nonpartisan thing, right? This is not about, look, I have my positions on government-run schools. Bill has his, but regardless, predators need to be prosecuted that are going after these kids. Bill, you want to say anything?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's the issue of the trusted adult and the mandatory reporters. Those are the things that I've got a lot of questions on. And again, looking at this, hindsight is always 20/20. But I would recommend that in the future, if any parent has questions about this maybe happening to their child. Sorry, I got something in my throat right now. I would recommend that when you set up the meeting with the principal on that time, work to have a representative from law enforcement in on that meeting. You need to have another set of ears, another person that is hearing the conversation that can be another source when you go back and talk about what was said in that meeting, what the school knew, and how they kept it secret.
That's right, Bill. Lindsay, thank you so much for your time today. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Erin Lee, Executive Director of Protect Kids Colorado, about some of the challenges she's faced in the Poudre School District. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Man, hard news, gut punch stuff coming out of Jefferson County School District. Just a shocking pattern of child abuse. I mean, sexual crimes against minors. The latest one with Columbine and the principal not doing, from Jeffco Kids First perspective, not doing enough to address the direct grooming of a child that now lives with a teacher in California, which is just wild. Joining us now is Erin Lee. Erin Lee's the executive director of Protect Kids Colorado, because not only is Jeffco being exposed and lives of TikTok, I mean, 4 million followers saying the worst school district from her perspective is Jefferson County Schools. But Pooter has also been a real challenge for parents up there. She gives us some perspective. Good morning, Erin Lee.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Well, happy Valentine's Day to you and your husband. Tell us about some of the challenges you guys faced up in the Pooter School District.
Yeah, well, if you look at that Libs of TikTok post and you scroll down in the comments, there's an exchange between Haya Raychik and I about how the second worst district in the whole country is the Pooter School District, and she agreed.
Really?
So
Wow.
it's almost like they're playing hold my beer on how many children can we abuse and how many parents can we violate. I've actually been watching that story in Jeffco for a few years. And I'm so glad it's seeing the light of day because it really hits home. My child was groomed in a very similar way at only 12 years old. And we're so lucky that we caught it right away. And we stopped these groomers from having, these teachers from having contact with our child. And in doing that, Child Protective Services was weaponized against us for not agreeing to this grooming activity. So it's interesting that these school districts refuse to acknowledge the problems. They refuse to take any accountability. And they even, as you heard Jeffco say, they called it an isolated incident. And it's not. It's a systemic problem that's happening all around the state, all around the country, really. And Jeffco and Pooter are hands down the two worst school districts in the country. They're not safe for kids to be in anymore. This use of the word trusted adult is so concerning. And it's something that's very heavy in both of these districts, where they are encouraging people to self-identify as trusted adults to other people's children. And that's never okay. As we've seen, there's been so many cases of child abuse, of sexual child abuse, of grooming that are coming out of these districts. And we have got to stop self-labeling teachers as trusted adults to other people's kids.
I mean, with Jefferson County, you literally had the guy who built the Trusted Adult program. The head of Jeffco Schools was being investigated for allegedly possessing child pornography. He then takes his own life. I mean, it seems like there's just a sickness, a brokenness here around this Trusted Adult program.
Truly, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, so everyone put your tinfoil hat on for this. In the Pooter School District, there's a How to Be a Trusted Adult to LGBTQ staff training, which I've seen hundreds of staff members take, and it is put on by a self-proclaimed genderqueer, shape-shifting blood witch who's a young woman with no credentials that qualifies her to be instructing teachers and staff on, really it's about how to medicalize children. It's about 30 slides of the necessity of medicalizing kids. It talks about how they must get puberty blockers, they must be affirmed, they must have access to hormones, they must have access to these mutilating surgeries. And I've seen communications in the district through public records where principals are taking the advice of this training and saying, well, I have an elementary child who's identifying as the opposite sex. And the parents have said, do not refer to my child as the opposite sex. But I learned in the How to Be a Trusted Adult training that the right lies with the child, not the parents. And so district guidance from legal, from the superintendent, from the chief of diversity, equity, and inclusion was to continue transitioning that elementary child and just call them something else when you talk to the parents. So their policy across the board in these districts is not just to deceive the children, but it's to lie to the parents, even if they find out and object to their child being transitioned or being exposed to these teachers and clubs like my little girl was.
Share for folks' perspective what happened to your daughter.
Yeah, 2021, she was recruited into a secret gender and sexuality club disguised as an art club. So she was deceived, we were deceived, and the teachers and the counselors brought in outside, really predators who groom children as young as 2 in our community and who are actively involved in trafficking children out of the state. So it's what I call the classroom to trafficking pipeline. And they taught her about things like polyamory, how to get puberty blockers, how to see a doctor and not tell us, and repeatedly said, your parents aren't safe, don't tell your parents about this. And we're one of the lucky families that our child broke the rule and trusted us. But we discovered that there were so many families who had no idea that their children had been groomed in this way. And so we caught it in time to help our daughter through it. It took about a year. It was a very dark year that she thought she was a transgender boy named Toby and that she couldn't trust us because she had been systematically groomed by teachers in the Poudre School District. But that's why we're vocal. And that's why, as you said, I'm the director of Protect Kids Colorado. I co-founded this organization because I learned that there are so many families like ours who have been through this and many who have no idea that it's even happening. And we have got to put some legal guardrails in place to protect our kids.
We're talking with Erin Lee. She's the executive director of Protect Kids Colorado. I think it's important for people to understand how we got here, because when I led the Centennial Institute, we were one of the core organizations fighting against some of the legal framework that allows this stuff to happen. One of them was protections against, quote, conversion therapy. Okay. So what was created into law was that we were going to ban conversion therapy, and in doing so require counselors to essentially guide somebody to explore their sexuality or their transgenderism. And I remember we were down there, we spent a lot of time lobbying, we were down there in these hearing meetings, and they were bringing up these horror stories of people being like put in ice baths to try to convert them from their homosexuality, forced to watch gay porn and be electrified, beaten with Bibles. And I turned to the head of One Colorado, and I was representing the think tank at Colorado Christian University. I said, look, you guys want to ban that? We're with you. That's terrible. Like, I don't think anybody should be pushed into an ice bath. That's just straight up torture. Okay. But what's going to result of this law is that if you have a child that's exploring transgenderism, right? They're maybe interested in it, that type of thing, and they go to a counselor, they are going to be mandated by law to get that child to embrace transgenderism. So a counselor in Colorado cannot go, for instance, and say, well, little Johnny, let's just take a minute here and really see if this is something, see if you are transgender. They're actually prevented by law from doing that. They have to guide the children to embrace transgenderism. And that was passed 4 or 5 years ago by this progressive leadership down at the Colorado State Capitol. And these are some of the effects that we're dealing with now. Erin, do you want to provide any perspective on that?
Well, 2019 was like the beginning of the end when they started passing these laws. That was 19/11/29. And I know that law because my 12-year-old child was affected by it. When we were thrust into this nightmare of all of a sudden learning that our daughter had been groomed to believe she's a transgender queer boy, we took her to a therapist. And we didn't understand that this law existed. We didn't understand that no matter whether it was a Christian therapist or not, they were bound by law to only affirm gender confusion. And so we were personally harmed by this law. It was that those therapy sessions that spiraled my daughter into a depression that led to suicidal ideation because she was seeking help through the confusion. And the people who were supposed to help her were forced by law to make her worse. And so there's actually a Supreme Court appeal that's sitting before the Supreme Court, Chiles versus Salazar. And I filed an amicus brief a few weeks ago in the hopes that the Supreme Court will take up this case and strike down this law, which is blatantly unconstitutional. You cannot force a licensed professional to do the opposite of what they've been trained to do, which is help children work through their issues. But there was a series of laws that were passed, and your experience at the Capitol is really indicative of this TQ plus takeover, where there's LGB rights And then there's the TQ plus takeover. And so in this law, there's conversion therapy of telling kids that they're not gay, but it's not conversion therapy to help a child be comfortable in who they are. It really is forced therapists to teach children to reject themselves, to embrace self-hatred, self-harm, and it does the opposite of conversion therapy, in my opinion. And the other law is 1120 that enabled 12-year-olds to seek medical care in Colorado without parent knowledge or
Without
consent.
parental notification. That one.
My daughter was taught that.
I mean, that was one we fought too, because, and I remember I went and talked to Daphne Michelson-Janae about this, and here's how they pitched it. They said, right now, 12-year-olds, counselors in schools, if a kid walks into the counselor and says, I'm going to commit suicide, the counselor has to pause and call the parents in order to get permission to talk to the kids. And we said, okay, well, gosh, that sounds like in a life-challenging moment, maybe we should allow the counselors one meeting, maybe two. How about 2 meetings? How about 2 meetings before you notify parents? But don't you think parents should be involved in these conversations? They said, no, we're going to allow unrestricted meetings between counselors and kids without any parental notifications. I mean, we tried. You could see it was so agenda driven. We were trying to provide some common sense guidelines on this stuff, leading the largest social conservative lobbying effort down at the state capitol. They wanted nothing to do with it.
Well, it's part of the absolute destruction of parental rights. And what they've done is enabled these school districts like Jeffco and Pooter to completely forego parents in the process that involves their kids, completely leave parents in the dark when their child is experiencing mental health distress. It has emboldened them. It has empowered them. And as you know, we have an ongoing federal lawsuit in the 10th Circuit. We're sitting in the Court of Appeals right now. I know Lindsay talked about involving the Colorado Attorney General. The lawyer who took my case is Pam Bondi, who's now the United States Attorney General. And so I hope these school districts are on notice that the Attorney General of the United States is well aware of their behavior and their violation of parents' constitutional fundamental rights and the harming of children that's taking place in these school districts.
Talking with Erin Lee. She's the executive director of Protect Kids Colorado. If you want to learn more about Protect Kids Colorado, go to protectkidscolorado.org. Thank you so much for taking time to join us on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks for having me.
We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. This is
Never even heard this.
Sabrina
Carpenter.
Carpenter.
The kids. What are the kids listening to these days?
This is it. Yeah. The big fight right now is are you in Sabrina's camp or Chapel Roan? That's the big thing right now. Who do you support?
What?
Yeah, Chapel
Jeff
Roan's
Hildebrandt's
fantastic.
with me. He's never heard of these people.
Sabrina Carpenter's fantastic.
Did
Great
you
performance
see
with Grammys.
some of the funny? They took the Super Bowl halftime show and then changed the audio to like George Strait.
Oh no, I didn't see that one. I didn't see that one.
Where they're dead. It's just check yes or no. Just having fun with it. We're going to get to Francis here in a second. We just ran out of time. Special thank you to Lindsay and Erin for joining us on what's happening in Jefferson County and Poudre school districts. I will say it again. Bill disagrees with me, but for the love of God, get your kids out of government-run schools. We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
KNUS.
City on this Friday, February 14th, 2025. And you tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Very happy Valentine's Day to you, Bill. We got the chemistry going on.
Yes,
There's something going on.
Yeah, there's something going on sometimes.
I've got a list of Valentine's Day limericks on x.com/JeffHunt if you want to go download those. A collection of limericks for Colorado's finest politicians. We've been reading them throughout the morning. Final one, we're going to actually get some real poetry here this hour. Some Hildebrandt, some Cowboy poetry, but this one's for Jason Crow. Dear Jason, so brave and so bold, a moderate, so we're told. A luck-word he said, with woke talking points read, and our freedom will prominently, and our freedom will prominently. Oh, Jason, we love you.
Yeah.
Please, Jason's doesn't watch that.
No, not. When he's visiting the constituent office, it gets just one over here. But no, I mean, tell him. We can go to the beach, buy it once. You know, the limit's like $1.25. So, you know, whatever you want, my friend. We'll go and everything. You want that honey bun there at the top?
I would
buy the
love
honey
to
bun for you.
gaze into your eyes. Let's go to the phone lines. Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Happy Valentine's Day, man.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. You know, it's kind of a made-up holiday, but that's okay. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Who
But I
doesn't
think
need
Hallmark,
a little bit of positivity.
Yeah, Hallmark and Mars candy bars made it up.
Correct. Hey, this really infuriates me because I would like to know, and I don't know if this is something that somebody like Sean Boyd knows or anything like that, but why isn't everybody in the chain of command who had any sort of knowledge of this immediately discharged and investigated by the DA's office and charged? I mean, this is a crime. I mean, these people are mandatory reporters all the way up the chain of command. They're not immune from criminal prosecution here. And a simple apology by the school district is not going to cut it. I want these people, I mean, look, anybody who knew this and didn't do anything about it or kind of foot dragged or, you know, slow walked any investigation internally, they immediately lose their jobs. They're criminally charged. And I think they should just get buried under the jail. I don't have any use for people like this whatsoever.
I agree with you, Francis, and I kind of I deferred a lot to what Jeff was having the conversation with the last couple of interviews because he was doing such a great job with the heavy lifting, getting all the nuts and bolts out there, and that was the thing that I kept popping in the back of my head. And it wasn't something to bring to the conversation right there because I'm not sure that either of our guests would have had the answer. But the idea of when, where, why, and how we involve law enforcement, because the thing that was a huge red flag for me is when you go to the principal and the principal's like, oh yeah, we know about these texts. Well, hang on a sec. I have a whole nother series of questions about this that you're aware of them. And then the other question is, have you read them? Have you seen the communications and what they're talking about? Do you feel this is appropriate? Is this too personal? And then I've got a whole series of questions. And again, there and our other guests couldn't answer them about why and how the teachers involved were able to hide this from the parents, knowing that the student in question was not homeless. You know, we've talked and we've had some disagreements on the show here about when a kid comes in and says that, you know, they're either gay or they feel they're transgender and whether or not that would be accepted at home and how, you know, what's the role for the school as far as what role is the protection? And there's some real disagreements there, and those are all fair. But this one is fairly cut and dry. You know the student is not homeless, yet you are going through the process, filling out the paperwork, and advocating for them as if they are. That is a lie. We can talk about a lapse in judgment as to whether or not you're protecting the kid's gender identity or sexual orientation at school, but it's a lie when you're going through the process and hiding it from the parents. And this is a process and procedure that was involving a minor at the time. That to me is a whole nother layer of BS that has to be cut through. I can't understand why you would trust any of these teachers. Yes, exactly, Francis.
I mean, I don't even. This just it bugs the heck out of me, because for heaven's sake, I mean, like you said, the principal knew about these texts. Okay, hard stop. Why is this principal not immediately engaging somebody in the district, or somebody, or for that matter, the DA's office, to help investigate this? It seems to me like the whole school district is more concerned with liability issues than it is with actually in the moment fixing and addressing what could be a much more horrible problem. This mother found this flippin' note accidentally cleaning the room, and that's what it incited all of this.
Yeah.
And so,
guys, can I ask you a question? Because and this is fresh because I was just watching Spotlight. Right, the Spotlight was the book, the movie done by I think the Boston Herald, on how the Catholic Church just basically moved moved the priests around.
Yeah.
And the argument was always being made like, no, the Catholic Church is doing really. Oh, we lost Francis.
I think we lost Francis.
But the Catholic Church is doing really good work in the community. This will expose us to liability, to lawsuits. People aren't going to come to the church. And so they justified hiding these, essentially the abuse of children, the sexual abuse of children. I kept wanting to say predatory behaviors, where I was trying to
sexual
get
abuse.
to. But sexual abuse of children. And Bill, I mean, push back if you feel, are they doing the same thing with the LGBTQ community, where they're going, look, kids have had to hide their sexuality. These teachers are doing a good thing. They're helping the kids explore their sexuality. I think you hear it from the principal, like that. This was one of the reasons why they kind of looked the other way, is because they felt like they couldn't, that this would be terrible to expose, because it would harm the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, I've got a couple on that one. One is, I have a question. The conversation you're referring to is when they go to the principal, and the principal tells them, well, this teacher likes to help students navigate their sexual identity. And I have a whole list of questions about that. Like, well, is the teacher doing it in an official capacity? Is there any review of these? Is the teacher trained? What types of conversations do they have? How often has she done this? Are there only particular students she picks out? Or is this something that happens? There's a whole list of things. As far as if the principal thought it was justified, I have some questions about how the principal came to that conclusion. And the next question I would have is, look at these text messages and what was written. Is this, in your opinion, principal, the teacher helping my child navigate their sexuality, or is there something else going on here? Because I feel something else is going on here. And that's why any parent that finds himself in this type of situation, bring in a law enforcement official with you. Or if you can't, if the law enforcement official doesn't walk in with you, then you need to have another third party. If this is going out and paying somebody else to be with you, that can be, there are all sorts of individuals you might be able to bring in there that could just be a third party to the conversation. Because the one thing that I felt in these things that we have uncovered with the Jefferson County School District is they don't want you to know that as soon as it becomes public, now they're worried about it, because if they were really concerned about this child and they wanted the child to have a closer relationship with the parent, why, or not the parent, with the teacher, why would you hide it? Why would you try to declare them homeless when the teachers knew they weren't? I got a real question there. Now, the thing is, I understand when you went into the LGBTQ issue, there's a list that he had shared and that posted. There's like 8 or 9 questions about people and bad things that have happened inside the district. If you go down that list, not a single one of those people involved is a drag queen. Not a single one of those people involved is transgender. None of them. And in fact, on that list of people that have had bad behavior inside the school district and the teachers and people in power, the vast majority of them are heterosexual. And this is why I have a question of things like the groups of gays against groomers. The one groomer we have identified specifically in this list of complaints is a gay person, not transgender, not drag queens. None of those are in that list. And that's why I have somewhat of an issue when we go, oh, well, this is the transgender issue. And I did have an issue when Erin brought it up a minute ago, but it wasn't worth an argument today about that. And I understand her position, and she and I have reasonable disagreements about that. But I agree with her on her position on this issue. She's 110% right. And I have a lot of agreements with her on how the school district handled her child and how the school district hides these things from parents. I think that she is right on so many things. There are minor things that we disagree with. But when you go through the list of the people that were going after the kids, the people that were involved in potentially child pornography, the people that were involved in grooming their children, wasn't the drag queens, wasn't the trans people. They weren't involved. So I just want to put a pin in that and remind people.
That's important. That's a very important
It's
to
really
point
important.
out.
When we're talking about groomers and everything else, it's really important.
Yeah. I guess in this particular case, it seemed to be part of the justification. But as you point out, the 8 there, sexual orientation didn't matter.
Yeah. And again, the gays against groomers, this was a gay person that did this, not a trans person, not a drag queen. And so we need to have our eyes open. And what I'm worried about, and this is why I push back so much on this, is what I'm worried is if we are focused on, it's the gays and the trans people or the groomers, we ignore some of the wolves in sheep's clothing that are there that are heterosexual inside of your schools. Because when you assume it is the other people doing it, you ignore what could be happening in your own house. And that is why I am so mad at my own church. That's why when going back and closing the circle on Spotlight, that's why I'm pissed, because my church decided that there were greater needs than protecting the kids. And I'm sorry, when Jesus talks about protecting the vulnerable, protecting our children, if the church does not protect those that can't protect themselves, I got a question about why you have a church in the first place. One of the reasons that, I get some real issues with my home church.
I mean, the underlying issue being, regardless of what good you think you might be doing, if there's abuse of kids, whether it's LGBTQ or Catholic Church or anything else, it needs to be confronted.
Absolutely.
So,
110%.
You and I agree on
Straight
that.
ahead. Yes. And it needs to be dragged into the light, because that is the only way. The light is an antiseptic in these cases. The
100%.
Darkness allows it to feed. You got to bring it into the light as soon as you possibly can.
So want to pivot here. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line. If you're heading to the store today, you can get some flowers, chocolate. Are you crossing the picket line? King Soopers now seeking restraining orders against striking workers. The grocer aims to stop picketers in the Denver metro area from deterring customers in front of its doors. King Soopers is seeking to stop workers from picketing outside its stores. Have you run into them? Have you gone and said hi and talked to them?
Yeah,
and stuff like
I brought them bagels and water earlier this week when they were out there for lunch. Right, it was about 11:30.
So you're supporting?
Oh hell, I will never cross a picket line, never, and I will never cross, especially grocery workers, picket lines ever. That's something that is very, very important to me. But again, I understand that part of it is a matter of convenience. It is easy for me to avoid crossing the King Soopers picket lines because in my neighborhood, they wonderfully, I don't know why, but thank you very much. They built a Safeway on one corner and they built the King Soopers on the other corner. They are catty corner.
Capitalism at its best.
I mean, it is literally less than a 90-second drive to go from one to the other. So I understand that there are other people in our audience that may have to make a different decision and cross that picket line because getting to a King Soopers or another shopping center is just way too difficult. It takes too much time. So I understand, and I'll give you grace on that. But if you can drive 10 minutes to another grocery store, but you're still, based on your convenience, crossing that picket line, I get some issues there.
So King Soopers has asked the courts for a temporary restraining order against striking, stating that it was doing so because it's creating unsafe conditions. The strike against King Soopers began in the Denver metro area and Pueblo last weekend ahead of the busy Super Bowl weekend after the grocer and the union representing its workers failed to reach an agreement on a new contract. Some picketers have been walking around sidewalks surrounding King Soopers stores, while others are are by the front doors, encouraging customers to shop at competitors such as Safeway. So,
yeah, let's
do
talk
you
about this some more.
support? Join the conversation. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text messages coming in, 7201. I am crossing the picket lines and telling them to go F themselves. Commie
Why?
trash.
Why?
They're right.
Yeah, but again, I understand the point, but tell me why. Give me the explanation. Tell me why you crossed the picket line. What is the reason that you feel you need to cross the picket line and not support their strike? I'm super curious because I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. There's a right answer for me and there's a right answer for you. And those could be different, but I'd be super curious about the reason. Why do you cross that picket line?
303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Keplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Time for Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, thanks, Jeff and Billy. 35 degrees and mostly cloudy in Denver. Sun peeking out here and there. Expecting a high of 51 on Valentine's Day. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
The daughter within that time said she was going to be moving in with a teacher. The parents contacted the sheriff, and the sheriff told them again, request a meeting with the principal and lay it all out.
On the show last hour, Lindsay, Datko, Jeffco Kids First, discussing the horrific story of the teacher who groomed the student at Columbine High School, reported by Sean Boyd, CBS 4, making national news. Absolute nightmare.
So they held a meeting with the principal for 2 hours where the parents report in the investigation that he said he was aware of the text messages, and the parents said, why wasn't that a red flag to you? And his response was, well, she's passionate about helping students navigate their sexuality. The next day, that's when the mom was cleaning her daughter's room and she found the homeless paperwork under her bed. This was a very short period of time as their daughter began slipping through their fingers here. She turned 18 and moved out with the other teacher, graduated. The parents watched from afar as the daughter did not want contact.
Horrible. Datko says the problems in the Jeffco school district are systemic. Tie winner, Colorado House Representative District 47 has a new bill. On with Jeff and Billy this morning. Will we ever get to nuclear energy? Hey, I'm all for it. But some believe the hype the media delivered in the 70s.
The fear of nuclear energy comes from the boomer generation. That's because, unfortunately, they had to hide under their desks during the Cold War. So that's really what kicks it off. And it's, we have a big education piece to get around that. But what's exciting about this is these modular reactors, they fit on about the footprint of a Walmart in its parking lot. And before, in the big tower reactors, the land grab around them was so big because of security. Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to have guys guarding these, no different than the big ones. But another thing about these is they can be moved.
Moves to the floor after passing 8-5 bipartisan support, maybe within the next 10 years. Who knows? Have to get it moving now, though. All those nut job Democrat communist politicians shrieking in D.C. They hate that the corruption is being exposed. Trillions of our taxpayer dollars being ripped off. And if they want to take it to the streets, they're going to have to go through the Patriot melody.
Oh, really? Y'all talk about taking what to the streets? I hear you Democrat politicians talking about taking something to the street. We got to use violence. Oh, yeah? Y'all want this smoke? Well, come on out into the street because there's a whole bunch of angry taxpayers, baby. And I don't think you got enough bodyguards for us, honey. So you watch what you say. And now y'all want to sing civil rights songs? What side are you on? What side are you on? Really? We ain't on your damn side. We on God's side. Because y'all the devil. Y'all the devil. And how dare y'all talk about violence? The party of love and happiness. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Bring it to the streets.
I love living in a country where you can wake up every day and say, I wonder what the president's up to today.
Yep, and the work of Doge continues. Does DJT expect to shut down the IRS?
No, I don't expect it, but I think that the Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So It's they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing. And that force is building these, I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk because these people get it. They're very smart people.
AOC back at it, tipping off illegals, putting everyone in danger, and Tom Homan is livid.
I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because there's impediment, it's impediment in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done. This is about public safety. This is about community safety. Knowingly releasing a public safety back in the public is just stupid.
Yeah. Great news this week. Tulsi Gabbard confirmed, and RFK Jr. also confirmed Thursday night. The winning continues, and it will only be 3 weeks after tonight concludes. But I guarantee you there will be news on Saturday and Sunday. Hey, Bayer Roses Chocolate, it's Valentine's Day, 32 in Brighton, 33 in Centennial, and 35 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
Happiness, togetherness, lovingness, foreverness. It's love, I guess. That's why I'm blessed. Peacefulness.
Have a great weekend, TGIF. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Partly cloudy skies, mild temperatures for one day. We're going to be able to go all the way to the low to mid 50s as mild Pacific air moves in. Later today and tonight, we could see a passing snow shower. Lower 20s tonight. It's going to be colder Saturday. Snow showers developing, highs upper 20s. Light snow Saturday night. Could see a light accumulation, lows teens. Highs upper 30s Sunday. Could see light snow chances and temperatures trending down heading into next week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Talk to you about my friends at Mountain High Appliance. It's a new year and it's time to get a kitchen upgrade. Save big during Mountain High's President's Day event going on now. Save up to $3,700 on premium KitchenAid appliances. KitchenAid has been a trusted name in homes and professional kitchens around the world for over 100 years. Built to last and made for those who love to cook. When you think appliances this President's Day, think Mountain High Appliance. That's Mountain High Appliance. Let's go to the phone lines. Ron, Denver. Good morning, Ron. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning. How are you guys? Oh, wait a minute. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
Oops. Let me get rid of my speaker there. Well, Billy asked me about the King Supers.
Yeah.
And I said I would cross the line because my prescriptions are there. And I support them because I spend about $230 when I go to the grocery store when I should be maybe at $120.
Oh, I feel you on that one, man.
I put a lot of money into that store, which goes into their wages. The other reason is I've been going to that store for 30 years. In the last 15, the employees are just so unfriendly. Just unfriendly.
Now, you know, Ron, I can understand that. One, the idea of crossing because of prescriptions. For me, I would give anybody the grace to cross because of prescriptions. And I would hope that each and every striker would also give you that space and say, we understand it is more difficult to move the medication. And once the strike is over, we want you to continue to be a customer here. This is just a short-term change in behavior. But I tell you, man, if they are nasty, unfriendly people in your particular store, in all honesty, man, I got no problem with you crossing that picket line. I still would like to have you support the union, but if it is based on the environment of the employees inside that store, and because they are so nasty that you're not going to support them on the picket line, okay, I can 110% understand why you would make that choice, because I can't say that I wouldn't make a similar choice. That if the people at my store are so nasty,
I support them for why they're doing it. They have to have 7,000 hours before they can go full time.
Yeah.
And so what they do is they keep them part time. They shift them around to different stores. Their day off changes all the time. But you know what? King Soopers is an entry level job. You start out at McDonald's, then you go to King Soopers, you get a little bit more experience, then you go to school, you get an education, and you move out.
Yeah, I would say that if you can get into like the manager level role, there's some real advantages there. But that is something that what I appreciate on the King Soopers level is many times you start out as the bag person, or you're doing the the grocery cart roundup in the parking lot, and you work your way up. So by the time you get to a manager position, you've done the other jobs and you understand the difficulties that it takes to do the other, jobs inside the store. And I think it makes you a better manager. I think that there is a path there to do something, even if you only have something like a GED. There is a pathway inside of King Soopers. You can get some decent money.
Now, Jimmy Sengenberger is saying that this is all just a ruse. The King Super strike isn't about local workers. It's about radical West Coast union bosses waging a class war to transform the grocery industry with Colorado as their pond.
But transform it into what?
Pawn. Our communities are collateral damage.
But transforming it into what would be the question. What are we trying to transform it into?
The leader of these strikes wants to remake the entire union in her image, more willing to strike, aggressively organizing, spreading an evangelicalistic message of democratic unionism rooted in social justice. She sees this as a multi-year strategy to sweep away long-entrenched union leadership and propel her to the presidency in 2028.
Hey, Billy,
Interesting.
You're being very humble. The reason I called, and I told you this, is this the best show.
Oh, thank you.
The message that you had today from these women is the most startling, frightening message I've ever heard on the radio, and I believe 100% of it because I've experienced it with my son in an exclusive school district everybody wants to be in Colorado. And here's my other question. And I mean that sincerely. It just scares it just scares me.
Yeah, scares us too. Yeah.
Well, my other question is, did Polis sign that bill?
Ooh,
yes, he was.
Yeah. Well, guess where he really is. Guess what he really thinks of the children in this state if he signed that bill. Oh, I am riled up.
That's a good point, Ron.
So here's my other question. No, I'm glad I am. My brain hasn't been working for a while, so I'm glad it's working now. The other question is, mentioned her attorney, who's now on the cabinet.
Pam Bondi. Yep.
Yeah. And so Trump must know when he says, I'm going to close down the education department, he knows this is going on. He's not going to make a blanket statement out there if he can't back it up. I think this is the real reason he knows this is going on in every school district in the United States, and he's sending a message. And if parents who have listened today aren't alarmed as much as they are alarmed with what's going on in U.S. aid, with all the expenditures that are so ridiculous, I think this is far more frightening.
Well, and Ron, to your point, Bill and I hosted this guy from Real Clear Investigations that was starting to look at the sheer number of money going out of states to school districts that were settling some of these sexual abuse cases. He said it could be bigger than anything you saw with the Catholic Church, than with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. This could be really big. And that money's starting to go out, and this stuff just hasn't been as exposed as it needs to be. Ron, Denver, sure appreciate the call.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
so much. You said, what do you say? We were the best show?
This was the best show that we've done,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. And it is very, last hour was really, really powerful. Yeah.
All right, we'll continue. Speaking of great things, coming up, some Cowboy Valentine's Day poetry with our friend Jeff Hildebrandt. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's that time of the week when we get to have a little cowboy poetry. I asked my poet, my personal poet, ChatGPT, to help me with one for you, Jeff Hildebrandt, the cowboy poet. Here we go.
Here we go.
There once was a poet so grand, with a cowboy heart and a steady hand. His verses ride tall like a horse through the hall, spreading wisdom across the land. Happy Valentine's Day to a true wordsmith of the West, Jeff Hildebrandt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And thank you, Chad.
All right. So Friday, as we wrap up the show for the week.
I used to drive a Jeep.
Never
mind.
A Jeep,
Chad's
GPT.
Jeep. Yeah.
Jeff Hildebrandt takes us into the weekend with a little cowboy poetry. Now, today's a special day. It's Valentine's Day. And I've always asked this about you. Do you change the subject? Do you write love poetry for your wife?
You know, I had real trouble trying to find. I tried to find, went through card shops looking for just the right poem, and I couldn't find one. Nothing fit. And so I was asking Billy, and he said, well, why don't you just write your own?
Yeah, right.
And so this is a cautionary tale about writing your own love poem.
All right.
I'm
ready to hear it.
It's called Won't You Be My Valentine? Roses are red, and so are your lips. I'd give you some sweets, but they'd go to your hips. You must avoid chocolates or anything yummy, because once you indulge, it goes right to the tummy. And flowers are out. With your allergies, just a mention of mums and you start to sneeze. I could whisper sweet words of love and romance, but with your heart condition, I won't take the chance. It's Billy's fault. Just remember that.
Yes.
Though a candlelight dinner with music and wine seems perfect, it's just not for my Valentine. You see, the meal might make your arteries hard. So I guess the next best is to send you a card. Of course, I'll need one where the printing is bold. Poor eyesight's a sure sign that you're getting old. Okay, but seriously, it has to say love for now and forever. A love for all time that nothing can sever. A love that will last despite what you do. And say I want only the best things for you. Now, the love that I offer has been and will be just waiting for you unconditionally. It's a life-changing love, so pure and so clean. It's the love that's described in John 3, verse 16. For God so loved the world, it says, he gave his only son to get us out from under all the rotten things we've done. And if we just believe in grace and take the gift God's given, then when he comes in glory, we'll go home with him to heaven. There couldn't be a greater gift. So please do not decline, but just say yes when Jesus asks, won't you be my Valentine?
Oh, wow. Jeez.
Humor,
wow.
A call to faith in Christ, love for his wife. He weaved all three of them together into that one.
That was
well done, Jeffrey.
That was so cool.
Thank you.
That was really
Just
neat.
call me Chad GPT. GDP.
That was
I'm
wonderful.
GDP.
Yes,
that's what it is.
That's exactly it.
Now, Jeff, you've got this poet's heart. What are you doing for your wife for Valentine's Day?
Leaving her alone. coming
That's
down
all she asked
here.
for.
That's all she asked for.
She said a little peace and quiet.
Do you go out to dinner? Do you guys go for a walk? Do you have dinner at home?
We spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, she's been in the studio before. She's
yeah. And no, I tried to avoid. I bought her something and totally surprised her this morning.
nice.
By the fact I got up.
She's like, oh, well, the day's gone already.
Oh, no.
He's awake. Okay.
All right. Turn the coffee on.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we usually don't go out and do things on the Valentine's Day. Because I don't remember to make reservations until she reminds me.
I was going to say, I get the dinner prime time melting pot because I have to get it reserved the first week of December.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. We've been there. It's we really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like crowds.
Yeah.
You know, I come here with you and Billy and it's just the three of us and he's in a different room and it's so nice.
Yes.
It's quite a Valentine's Day.
You know, that was my wife's suggestion. Can you just spend a time in the other room?
The other room.
Yes.
What else you got for us there, Jeff Hildebrandt?
Well, I'll tell you what, continuing on with the theme, the sky was clear. The stars were bright when they came into the town that night. They'd traveled on the road for hours without a thought of hearts and flowers. Their meal was simple, bread and wine. Then she got the world's first Valentine. No Hallmark card her hands caressed, though he cared enough to send the best. And Russell Stover's can't compete with any Valentine this sweet. But it wasn't very many years before her joy gave way to tears. He said, "You must have been aware a gift like this was meant to share." So with the pain of bitter wine, the world got its first Valentine. This gift to that poor carpenter's wife was Jesus Christ, the gift of life. The gift of God hung on a tree now offers life eternally. The final part of God's design was giving you his Valentine. No Russell Stover can't compete with a gift so loving and so sweet. No Hallmark card you could caress comes close to when God sent his best.
The real message. Real message of what it's all about. That's where love is. For God so loved the world. Like you said, John 3:16. All right, we'll continue. Up next, some more cowboy poetry. It's a lot better than what I got coming out of Chat GPT. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Guys, I got a solution for you. If today you're waking up and it's Valentine's Day and you don't have a gift, well, I got one perfect for you. It's Beau Visage Skincare and Spa. You need a gift for your wife or special lady. You got to get it done right now. Most men usually think candy or flowers, but let's be honest, after a hectic holiday season, why not get her something most women really need? A gift of rest and relaxation. I've got a great idea. Beau Visage Skincare and Spa. Buy her one of their fabulous gift packages. Beau Visage specializes in luxury services like wonderful European facials, therapeutic massages, and several more. And everything is designed to pamper your special lady in luxury. Guys, trust me, this place is great. My wife and I went there for a couples massage. It was fantastic. It's professional, first class. Plus, they do it all at very competitive prices. So for details, call 303-779-5002 or visit bvspa.com. That's 303-779-5002 or bvspa.com. This Valentine's Day, give her a wonderful, relaxing experience at Beau Visage. That's bvspa.com. All right, we've got just a few minutes left. Jeff Hildebrandt's got some anti-Valentine's Day poetry.
Well, you know, it sometimes, unless you fan the flame, the warm and fuzzy fades. This is that story. I let you fry my bacon. I let you bake my beans. I let you cook my cornbread and wash my old blue jeans in that brand new Kenmore washer you got in '93. As a sign of my affection on our anniversary. What do you mean you want to leave? I let you groom my pony. Now suddenly you're all upset and wanting alimony. I let you drive the pickup when you get the feed and such, and I keep clear out of your way when you replace the clutch. So what do you mean you don't feel loved and you're just a hired hand? Didn't you say for better or worse when the ring went on your hand? And darling, you've had better than most. I don't know what you're thinking. Aren't I here to remind you of things to be done? And don't I come home after drinking? What do you mean we never talk? You hardly say a peep. Last night I tried to talk to you and you just fell asleep. It looks as though your mind's made up, though I don't know why you're peeved. But there is one thing I'd like to ask. Can you clean out the barn before you leave?
Oh, that's fantastic.
That is a great one. So it's been a wild show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. One of our listeners saying this was one of the best ones we've ever done. Bill, you got any Valentine's Day plans?
We don't go out and do anything because it's, everybody else is out there doing stuff. But what I do is I make sure that when the wife comes home, I take care of everything. So she gets to relax. It's been a long week, especially on a Friday. So I'm doing dinner. I'll take care of the dishes. I'll take care of everything else.
What do you
That's
got for dinner? What's the plan?
I have got a pork loin that is marinating right now, and then we'll throw in some vegetables that I will roast inside of the oven, and then we'll also do some mashed potatoes. It's going to be fairly simple.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
so I'm swinging by your place.
I like doing me the pork loin, especially when you get the tenderloin and you marinate it properly. And yeah, there's some things you can do to it, and so you do that one just right. That's kind of one that's her favorite. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Make it easy. Although I did order the big thing of flowers that you're supposed to, and because I get a deal online because that's how I shop. Of course, and got the email.
You don't want to say that.
Yeah, no. She knows me. She knows me. She knows. She's like, oh. As soon as I told her, I said, oh, babe, your flower's supposed to be tomorrow, but they're coming on Monday. She goes, but did you get a good deal? I'm like, yes, I did. She goes, oh, that's fine. She knows me. We've been married almost 30 years. She knows me very well.
Well, very happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there, and thank you to all of our listeners for calling in, texting in. We love you. Hope you have a great Valentine's Day. You've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710 KNUS. Yes, Jeff and I are married, but you're still our Valentine. Have a great day.